Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for a live reaction and player ratings live stream of Watford 1, Chelsea 2. Currently, it's just myself and Clutch. Pice must have had some connection issue. He will be right back, and Con will be joining us in a few minutes as well. Oh my days, I don't even know what to feel because the performance was god bloody awful. Like one of the worst performances I can remember Chelsea having, honestly. But what's for sure is it's also the worst performance in a game and that we still won. So as much as it's awful, it's kind of still good in a weird way, but it was really bad, especially that first half was really bad. I do want to start this off though by quickly to that Watford fan that suffered, reportedly at least, a cardiac arrest in the first half after about 12 minutes of the game. I hope he gets well soon, or I hope they get well soon, because that's not something you ever want to see happen. And yeah, like I said, I hope they get well soon. But that made for a very, very, very long game. Like kickoff time, local time was 7:30 p.m. By the time we finished, it was past 10 p.m. Like that was probably the longest game I can ever remember. Like I'm sure it's happened before that it was longer, but you know, crazy. But again, just to clarify, get well soon to that Watford fan, because that is not something we want to see in football. But as you can see, I didn't promise you any lies. We are joined now by Con and Pice. Pice's connection has fixed itself, and Con has joined us. Boys, thank you for joining us, of course. Let me start with you, Clutch. Clutch, as always, cheers for coming, of course. That was crazy. That was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, thanks as always, Laurenz. I want to echo the sentiment of the Watford fan. I hope he gets better, and the one at Leicester today, too. I know there was another one that went down over there, so I feel real bad about that. Football is still just a sport. Life is still the most precious thing. But that game was terrible, terrible, terrible. That first half, I didn't even know if I wanted to watch the second half, to be honest. And it's just, there's so many things that went wrong. We know the problems that we have now, and it's just about fixing them. And that's really all I got at this moment.
Yeah, no, exactly. Pice, again, thank you for joining us. Like we were talking during the game as well a little bit, like that was rough, but somehow we came through. So what's the overwhelming feeling right now? Because like I just said, I'm not sure if you still heard, if you had joined by then. It's one of the worst games I can remember us having, but it's definitely the worst game I remember us having that we still won.
Yeah, I mean, kind of reminds me of the Brentford game, right? And to be honest, I have such high standards of what I want Chelsea to be and what I want to watch, and that was just not it today. And good, like I'm probably going to be a pessimist this stream because every time we win like this, it's not that I don't like it. I'm just like, it does, like almost for me today, it doesn't feel like a win. Like Tuchel said, we stole 3 points. Like we weren't ready. Like that was just not what I wanted to see from Chelsea today. I wanted to see such a better performance. I've got so many things to talk about, but the main thing that stands out for me was the passing today. Absolutely horrendous. And I don't know why, but today we actually looked really open in the back three for the first time, I think. Maybe the West Brom game, but of course we got a red card, but we looked so open. I was like, what's going on? And I think that has a lot to do with the midfield, which we'll come on about. But yeah, I mean, so many stuff to talk about. But yeah, I'm just feeling a bit, I don't know, a bit deflated, and it's almost weird because we won the game, but I just come away from these sort of wins like injuries as well. How long can we keep this up for? Why is everyone getting injured? Like I'm just a bit concerned, Laurenz, especially with West Ham at the weekend. Like if we play like that, man, we're getting absolutely spanked. We ain't winning that game. West Ham are miles better than Watford. They'll punish us.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's a really, really tough one. I'm not sure what's going on in the chat. Did I miss something that I shouldn't be missing?
It's the thing that we were talking about on Twitter earlier. Somebody is kind of mentioning it.
Is that? Okay. Aye. People are idiots. But I still haven't seen it, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm meant to be commenting on. But Con, of course, to you as well. Thank you for coming. Do you agree with what Pice said? Is it, even though we won, a deflated feeling, or has the win somehow, is there at least some positivity alongside the negatives of today?
I'm kind of buzzed, to be honest. We was awful. I think it's one of the worst games I've seen under Tuchel in terms of performance. But context is key here. We made 6 changes from United. We managed to fully rest Jorginho and Cho for West Ham on the weekend, which is massive. And with the win-backs we had today and the pivot we had today, to get 3 points is absolutely massive. Against a team that's bouncing as well. Watford's confidence is high. You saw what they did to United. So, yeah, don't get me wrong. The performance was awful. But there is silver linings here. And there's no point being 200% negative about it because there's a lot of injuries. Players were rested. Context is important, So I'm happy that we got the 3 points in the end.
Yeah, no, I am as well. And now I've clocked on what's going on in the chat. Fantasy PGA Tour. Opinions are one thing, but this is not a channel where we talk about medical and scientific data and information. So I would appreciate if you didn't put things like that in the chat. Thank you, because not happening, mate. Anyway, I kind of agree with what Con said. It's a weird one. Like I said, yes, there is context. The context is also that, how we've always been praising how great our squad is. It really isn't because, there's a few positions. If we don't have a first choice, we're kind of awful. So, yes, we have in numbers, we have a great squad. And in names, we have a great squad. But the ESPN think Alonso is one of the best top 10 left backs in the whole world. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of actually playing football, not the same thing. So that obviously explains why we were so bad to some extent. But there are a few things which we need to discuss. Obviously, there was no preview yesterday. I do apologize. I was just too busy. There will also not be a West Ham preview, unfortunately. But I will be back for a West Ham, player ratings live stream straight after the game, of course. And then everything will be back to normal from the Zenit game the midweek after that. But before we quickly get into the game, let's quickly touch on this. And don't want to spend too long on this because obviously the game's more important. But this whole Christensen stuff. And I'm not going to sit here and say, the board or Tuchel are now completely at fault. That's why Chalobah is injured. But that's kind of why Chalobah is injured. Chalobah now started 4 games in a row because we didn't want to play Christensen because he's not signing a contract. And now Chalobah is injured. Brilliant. I mean, that's not bloody great, is it? That's not bloody great. But what do we make of this? Obviously, everybody has kind of been losing their shit since yesterday afternoon, since Thomas Tuchel's press conference. And then Matt Law released an article. And then later on in the evening, I think, what was it this morning? I think it was today, actually. The Athletic released an article and they were kind of slightly contradicting each other. It's a very weird one. So just quickly to summarize one more time, Andreas Christensen has reportedly in the summer agreed basically a deal with the club, 5 years, £140,000 a week, and then changed his mind and wanted 3 years. Very surprisingly to me, we found out yesterday that Chelsea actually agreed to those demands and offered him those 3 years with 140k. But then now, apparently, according to the Athletic part of that, he's kind of changed his mind again. He's like, I don't actually mind signing for longer, but I just want more money. And there's two kind of problems I have with this situation, because on the one hand, I completely agree. He should be on more money than 140k if Timo Werner is on 270. I completely agree with him. But at the same time, if you agree to the club and tell them, well, yeah, that's what I want, and then they give you it, and then you don't sign it, that's horse crap as well. But then, I don't know, is necessarily not playing him the right decision? Whose decision even was it? Was it the board? Was it Tuchel? Was it a decision made together? I don't even know. But it's not like since yesterday, if you've been on Twitter, if you've been in the Chelsea sphere, it's not the climate we want to have. Like, we're footballing wise, until today, let's say, we're probably in the best position we've been in since the Ancelotti days, in combination of getting results and playing actually good football. Like, in terms of, okay, sure, Jose had a period and Conte had a period, but in terms of what I see on the horizon, Conte, the way we played him, my opinion, had a limit. Jose, the way we played him, my opinion, had a limit. Sure, it's all said with hindsight now, but still. But now these injuries, number one, not taking chance against United, number two, and now all this Christensen stuff, this has really not put us in the position that we wanted to be in. And like, I've seen a lot of people, some people are angry at Christensen, some people are angry at the club, some people don't know. Like, where do you guys sit? Let me go back to you, Con. Like I said, I try to keep this part of the conversation not too long, but it's weird, isn't it? But how do you feel about it? It's strange. And then, sorry, one last thing. So just before the game, or half an hour before the lineup came out, Simon Johnson of The Athletic tweeted, he's hearing that Christensen is going to be on the bench again. And then the lineup comes out and he actually starts. So, like, what even is going on?
Yeah, with the contract talks, quickly, I don't blame the club for that. They're on, like, the last year this year because under a previous manager who I won't name, they were awful. If you was, let's rewind like a year or two back, and you said, well, not a year, let's say 2 years ago, and you asked most Chelsea fans, would you give Christensen and Rudiger contracts of said amount of money? They'd say no, sell them. Most would say anyway. I believed in Christensen for a long time, but I didn't want Rudiger. I'll be honest, I hold my hands up there. I didn't rate him. I wanted Tomori over him. So I don't blame the board for that, because why would they give them extra deals during that period when Lampard was on the verge of selling Rudiger, you know? So the contract situations, I'm not really blaming the board for. Christensen, get your dad out of your agent business. Get a proper agent, because when family members do players stuff like this, we've seen it with Hudson-Odoi, it's always a mess, you know? The club's offered Christensen what he's wanted twice. Sign the thing, you know? The injuries, I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to get into any theories. That's not why I'm here, but it's a concern for sure. So, yeah, just feels like at Chelsea you can't have too much of a good thing, you know? We get some goodness and then it eventually goes, because we can't have anything nice, apparently.
Yeah, that's what it is, honestly. Clutch, similar thoughts to Con, or do you disagree?
I agree with Con. I mean, it just seems like we heard today that Aspie wasn't signing a contract either. So for me, it's just...
I didn't even hear that one.
I seen it on Absolute Chelsea, I think, earlier. I don't know if that's 100% true. I don't know. But I did see that. So, I mean, that's 3 center backs that aren't signing. Thiago Silva wants to sign, so that's good. We heard that yesterday or something. Personally, I want these deals to get done, and however Chelsea have to do them. Do I blame them for the way they're going about it? Not really, but at the same time, I don't know the details personally, so I can't be like, hey, Christensen says he wants that, we shouldn't give him that or whatever. I mean, I'd probably go to Pius. He's going to be a little bit more knowledgeable about what's going on. So I just like to pass it to him.
But news, Pice, what are your thoughts on the whole situation?
With Aspie?
No, Christensen mainly. But I guess you can touch on Aspie as well.
Yeah, Christensen, I mean, we touched on it a bit last night. Con actually did a space where he was ranting. But yeah, I think we all were when we saw the news of just families and getting involved. Like, it's just, I just think it's unprofessional, because you have a deal agreed for 5 years, then you want 3 years. Now there's rumours of 4 years. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, sort it out. You know what I mean? And I don't really know whether keeping him out of the team for those games was worth it. I mean, to be fair, I thought he looked on it tonight. I thought he looked like he wanted to play for Chelsea. I didn't see any bad body language, because sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, you can tell if someone doesn't want to play for Chelsea. So I don't necessarily think the rumours of other clubs swaying his head are true. I just think maybe his agent's being a bit of a melon, and Christensen's, for me anyway, I don't know the ins and outs, but for me personally, I would like to think he's not really the one that gets involved in all these things, but we don't know that for sure. But I mean, what Tuchel did say is that Christensen told him, you know, I want to stay at Chelsea. So it's a bit frustrating that he hasn't shown the commitment yet. And Tuchel was led to believe that the good news was coming soon, and it hasn't appeared to be coming soon by the reports. So, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, yeah, we did touch on it in the space last night. Just basically frustrating, showing our frustration on family members getting involved mainly. Because I think his dad said something like this in 2018, like, you know, if we can move somewhere else if you want. Well, you know, when two stubborn parties clash, like Marina and agents, then it's not very many times that Chelsea are going to give in. So, I mean, Chelsea will eventually come out the winners, as they would like to paint the picture as that. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I don't know what's going to happen, but there's definitely a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Yeah, no, that's what I agree with as well, because I did see a few, for my preference, a few too many people that sided too drastically with either side. Whether you're siding too much with Christensen, saying it's outrageous that he's not getting more money, but also if you're siding too much with the club, in my opinion, because like I said, if you're happy to pay Timo Werner £270,000 a week, you've got to be expecting other players to be demanding more than 140k when they're playing way better. You know, that's just the position you've got to put yourself in. Like, you can't sit there now and then be like, oh, but Christensen, you said you want to stay. Yeah, sure, he wants to stay, but he also wants to be valued accurately, right? And in terms of the 2 reports that we saw, people telling me, but Matt Law is the main guy for Chelsea. I'm like, yeah, but does that make it more likely that it's true what he said, or does that just mean he's saying Chelsea's version of the story? While maybe the Athletics, story was more Christensen's side of the story. I don't know. But for me, the reality probably lies somewhere in between. But let's move on from that. Let's get into the actual game tonight. Because like I touched on, Christensen did actually start, even though Thomas Tuchel confirmed yesterday that part of the reason why he hasn't started for the past few games, the past 3 games, was actually partly to do with the fact that he hadn't signed a new contract yet, which is crazy. But also, Reece James, Jorginho, and Timo Werner were all doubts for the game. Reece James in the end not even making the bench. Jorginho making the bench, but never coming on even when midfielders are coming off injured with half an hour to go. So he was clearly nowhere near fit. So yeah, it was a bit of a tough one. Let me I'm just typing out the team here so we can actually get through, talking about the overall performance, obviously, but then also doing the player ratings, because that is essentially what we're here for, isn't it? But when you saw the lineup, Clutch, what were your thoughts at the time?
I was about what I thought it would have been yesterday if you would have asked me. You have Saul, who at this point was kind of, I wouldn't say deserving of a start, but deserved of a chance to show what he could do. From yesterday's presser, we found out that Thomas Tuchel still believes that Alonso can do this job while Chilly's out. Pulisic, obviously, I didn't know. I kind of figured he would start. It was between Havertz and Lukaku for me. I thought we would have given Lukaku a chance, especially against Watford, to kind of get back into the rhythm, to kind of get the season going back for him again, but that didn't happen. But, I mean, Havertz came in, and Havertz did a really good job. It's just that midfield kind of scared me, and then it ended up being what was one of the biggest things that cost us today. Well, I shouldn't say cost us, but...
Yeah, it's. I mean, you could say cost us, but obviously we somehow managed to find a way and survived, and actually did manage to get the win in the end. But Con, what about you? Thoughts when the lineup came out? Obviously, a lot of it we kind of expected, but did you expect the game to be as bad, or did you at least expect us to struggle a little bit, or did you still think we were going to kind of walk the park with Watford?
The lineup was basically what I predicted, besides Havertz and Lukaku. I thought Lukaku would have started, but clearly wasn't fit enough to start. I had my reservations about that pivot. I really did. I was trying to stay optimistic, but in the back of my mind, I was scared, man. 1 second.
All good. I'll go to Pys in the meantime.
Sorry, bro. My dog had a squeaky toy. My bad.
All good.
So I had my reservations about that pivot, and yeah, it showed. Them 2 were awful tonight. I think that puts to bed about Saul going left wing back. I don't think this guy should be in the Chelsea team, period. And that sounds a bit harsh, but he was absolutely awful today. He was really bad today. The wing backs was a problem. We all knew it was going to be a problem. We all called it, and it was a problem, surprisingly enough. But yeah, we did enough, man. We did enough.
Just about enough, yeah, just about. Pys, what about you? When you saw the lineup, reaction, did you think it was going to be this bad, or did you think it was going to be bad at all, or what was your reaction at the time?
Well, I didn't expect the game to be like this. I thought we would control the game, even with the wing-backs, in possession-wise anyway. I thought we'd maybe win 2-0. Maybe not play great, but I thought we'd get the job done. But actually ended up feeling like a Champions League final where we was on absolute ropes at the end, and then injuries coming on, and then Saul getting a yellow. And just players just playing dreadful all around, especially in the first half. But, yeah, I mean, in terms of the lineup specifically, if I had to pick out something, I would probably just say the pivot. Yeah, I mean, obviously I was interested that Christensen was starting, and big up CFC news page for that, because he got that right over Simon Johnson. So big up to him. But yeah, the midfield pivot, I was worried about the balance a little bit. Obviously, we saw it in the cup, but I mean, the cup's a cup game. It's rotated sides anyway. And even though it's Watford, they have powerful midfielders like Sissoko. So, yeah, I was worried because he was constantly going up against Saul and down that side, and they was really targeting Saul and Alonso. And the main problem I had with the midfield was just the space. I couldn't believe the space and the lack of control we had. Like, fuck me, like, we really miss Jorginho, man. Every time he doesn't play, like, even in the Lampard days, bro, and You know what this game reminded me of tonight? It reminded me of that Arsenal away game under Lampard. I remember the first 20 minutes, we could not get the ball. We was being pressed to oblivion. Exactly the same tonight. What happened? We bought Jorginho, completely different game. Same happened against Crystal Palace under Lampard. I think one of the games where we was doing well, but when Jorginho came on, he controlled the play and he literally created us like 2 goals. Like Jorginho is just vital to his team, man. But obviously, the overload that he's been having recently means that he had to rest, I'm assuming, because otherwise he would have come on. And yeah, that was the main problem for me, Laurenz, was the midfield today. Too much space. Loftus-Cheek as well. Too much dribbling, I have to say. Just release the ball earlier, man. Play 1-2 touch. I know you can do it. I know it's not really your game, but you've got to adapt. Too many dribbles and lost the ball for the goal as well. So, yeah, I love Loftus-Cheek, man. But, I mean, we all love Loftus-Cheek. But, yeah, just not really a great game for him tonight either.
Yeah, although we will get to obviously Saul and Ruben individually. What I will say though is, and I'm not going to sit here and defend them all that much, but what I'm trying to say is the way we played and the way we struggle with Watford's press and the way we didn't have any outlet on either wing-back side. How can either of the midfielder play one? Like, who are they going to play one-touch football to? Other than if we're just going to play back and forth between our centre-backs and the midfielders, which is what we did anyway, which is why we couldn't do anything. So, in my opinion, they were both bad, and we will get to that, fully agree, and they were part of the reason. But even if you wanted them to play quicker football, where were they going to play quicker football to? They didn't even attempt it, sure. But because like the wing-backs were never in any useful positions, and when we gave Alonso the ball, he lost it every bloody time. To be fair, well, we'll get to Alonso again, but in the second half, fixed himself a little bit. To be honest, even in the build-up to Mount's goal, fixed himself, obviously, for that one offensive moment. But, like, if Watford, and, you know, all due respect to Watford, if Watford can come here and say, Alonso's playing, let's just attack down that side and we'll be absolutely fine. And they do that from minute one, and they basically obliterate us on every occasion. And then, obviously, Saul being next to Alonso also having an awful game, making Rudiger look even worse. Rudiger, in my opinion, also not having a good day in the slightest. Pulisic, especially early in the game, struggling a lot as well. Our whole left side was just a pure shambles. You can say the right side was as well, but we barely saw the right side of the pitch even have the ball. I swear for the first 10, until obviously game was stopped due to the fan that obviously needed medical attention, I swear Havertz, Mount and Aspie barely even touched the ball until then, because it was all on our left side, because that's where Watford attacked because of Alonso. And then whenever we won the ball back, we had to kind of attack on that side, and we lost the ball again, and they attacked us again on that side. Like, shambles. But do any of you guys, and I'll go to you first, Con, do you want to say anything overall before we start talking through the individuals, or shall we start with the ratings?
The only thing I want to say is, like, as bad as the performance was today, just try to have a little bit of hindsight and just think against West Ham we're going to have a fully fit Jorginho and Callum. So we tanked it today. We survived it, luckily enough. And for West Ham, we've got Jorginho, who should really lock things down, unlike the two we played today.
Very good point. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, we have 370 people watching. Big up yourself for that. Appreciate it a lot. But if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. Never new subscriber counts. And I'm sure there's a lot of you here that aren't subscribed yet. So click that big red subscribe button down below. It means a lot to me. And smash the like button for me as well, because again, 370 people. So we need to get to at least 200 likes right now. Go down below, smash the like button. Doesn't cost you any money. Barely cost you any time. But let's start again with the goalkeeper. I will let you off this time. Connor will not go first with you this time. Mendy was a interesting one because he made some very good saves, but his distribution today was god bloody awful. Even when he delivered them, he took so long. Like it was so slow at playing the ball out. Sure, that's unfortunately how TV cameras work. When the camera is on the goalkeeper, I can't actually see how the forward line is moving around. So how much blame they have and how much blame Mendy has. But the fact that Mendy played like 5 or more long balls forward to Pulisic, for Pulisic to basically be in an area battle against the Watford centre-back, I'm like, what's the bloody point in that then? Like, I do not understand. But some of the saves he made, obviously, were very good. I mean, Chalobah cleared one basically off the line, or that was going in very early. Then Mendy made a great save. Then Mendy had to make another decent save. Obviously, nothing he can do about the goal, I would say. Or not, I would say. Definitely nothing you can do about the goal. But And then just lucky twice he went down injured. I was just hoping and praying that he didn't have to come off because that would have made the day even worse than it already was. So I don't know. I'm really struggling what rating to give him. So I'll go with you first this time, Pice. What do you reckon? Did you agree even with me that his distribution was poor, or was that just me?
No, I do. I definitely noticed it. One thing I noticed as well, did you see when he took really long on the ball and then, to be fair, he calmly played it out from the replay, but Josh King nearly got the ball off him. He pressed him so hard, and then I was like, Mendy, kick it, and he just didn't kick it until the very end. It's almost like he's getting too comfortable on the ball lately. It's really weird, and it's affecting his passing. But yeah, I mean, overall he was pretty good. The one where he came out, I thought was a bit questionable, but I guess in hindsight he would have had to come out as actually good positioning, really, because otherwise he would have been on a one-on-one. So yeah, just a good save as well from the Kuchka free kick, because those aren't easy to save, those power blasters, especially because I don't think he was expecting it. So yeah, I mean, overall pretty good performance, but distribution definitely does need to get back to its usual best, because I think overall he's actually very good on the ball. Genuinely, I think he's really underrated on the ball. Usually picks out some really nice passes, just no one really notices it. But obviously people notice it when he doesn't do as good as obviously his passing. So yeah, I think I'll give him a 7.5 today.
Okay, fair enough. It's a tough one because you mentioned it there. The whole when he came out, it worked out. Fair enough, even though he got slightly injured. Hopefully, he's okay. Obviously, even after the game now. But it felt like a little bit of an overcompensation for the goal we conceded against United, where he didn't come off his line at all. And it felt like he was kind of told by the coaches, you need to come off your line in these situations, and he kind of almost overcompensated for it. And but it worked out in the end. So I can't. Maybe I shouldn't use the word overcompensated, but yeah. I was probably going to go for 7 rather than 7.5. I think 7.5 is maybe a bit high. But, fair. Let me ask you, Clutch. What do you reckon? What would you give Mendy today?
I'd probably go with a 7. I think that when he did come out, yes, it did work out, but that was still very reckless. Could have easily gone the other way. He could have even gotten hurt from it. But I think he made a lot of good saves to kind of make up for that. There was that one in the very beginning when it went off of Aspie accidentally, and he made that save to parry it out. So I wouldn't blame him too much. There's shouldn't say there wasn't too much to do. There was more to do than he normally has to, but he still dealt with it 90% of the time.
Yep, fair. Like I said, I agree with the 7. Con, what would you go with? 7.5 like Pies, 7 like ourselves, or would you go something different?
Today I'd probably go with an 8. I think without Mendy, we lose today. I think he was important. I think that Aspie, when he came with Aspie, if I'm not mistaken, that was a hell of a save. And it's because it's just Mendy, he makes things look a lot easier than they actually are. I know his distribution was off today, Fairs, but everybody's passing was off today. And the movement at times is so bad. Where do you want him to kick it to? He came out well as well. So, no, I think 8, because without him today, I think we lose.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what we give the other players, I guess, because let's see what maybe our overall ratings are slightly off each other, because obviously you can say the same for without Mount or without Ziyech we lose. But I'm not sure. Let's see what ratings we'll give them. But overall, we have a 7.5 that I would say. Let's get to Chalobah. Obviously, just to quickly clarify, obviously we made a sub, but in the second half, we changed from this formation, the 3-4-2-1. We changed to kind of a 3-5-2 with 1 DM and 2 almost number 8s, where it was then Chalobah as the DM when Thiago Silva came on to replace Saul Niguez. And then Mason Mount is kind of a left centre mid, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is a right centre mid, and then Pulisic and Havertz up top. And then Chalobah picked up an injury, seemingly a hamstring injury, very early in the second half, in that exact situation which I spoke about Mendy, when he had to come out very far out of his goal to do something about a very quick counter-attack by Watford. But then he had to come off. He was then replaced by Hakim Ziyech, which then pulled Ruben Loftus-Cheek back into the sole DM role, with, again, Mount as the left CM and Ziyech as the right CM. And, obviously then Lukaku came on for Pulisic, and then we had Lukaku and Havertz as a front two in a way. Interesting, but not quite sure how to rate Chalobah until he came off, to be honest, because obviously, especially in the first half, we were awful. I didn't think he looked bad when he was in midfield at all. I didn't think he looked like the problem. by any means in the first half either. But obviously, he was part of a team that was absolutely shocking. And he was part of the team that couldn't pass the ball out of our own half. So he can't exactly get a high rating, if you ask me. But I don't know. Maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and give him a 6. But even that's slightly pushing it, because I just think all of these players, all of these 7, I mean, we'll get to the front 3 as well, but all of these 7 were all god-awful, in my opinion, in terms of we could not deal with Watford's press by any means. We could not pass out, and we were just awful. Sure, you could say Chalobah suffered from the fact that it was Aspi here, not James, and that it was, no Jorginho, no Kante, no Koba here, but it was Ruben and Saul. Sure, but I still expect all of the centre-back 3 to deal with it better than they did in the first half. So actually, I'll change that. I would personally go 5.5. And I know that's not because he made an individual mistake, but he was part of a team that just couldn't hack it against bloody Watford. And again, all due respect, but it's Watford. Do you know what I mean? Hey, Con, this time I'll go with you first. Do you think I'm being harsh on Shallow? Do you not think I should go that low just because we struggled so much?
I understand what you're saying, bro. I understand it. It's hard to rate the defenders today, because I get your reasons. Because I think Chalobah defensively was good. On the ball, he was really poor. I'd give him a 7. The reason I wouldn't give him a 6 because I just remember that shot from the Watford player that looked like it was going in, and Chalobah cleared it. It was a big moment in the game.
True. I forgot. I'll go back to the 6. I forgot about that.
And I think with a game like today's games, you have to judge the players on moments, and that was a really big moment. So I'd probably give him a 7. The passing was bad, but I think defensively he was really good. I think he did well.
Really good. I feel like no one was really good today.
Bro, with how we got pressed and how we didn't keep the ball, if we weren't defensively good today, if these 3 didn't do their job, we would have lost 4-0, 4-5. So the defence had to do something right, because they kept winning the ball over and over again.
But they also kept losing the ball.
Yeah, and why is that? Because the defence did the job.
They also played really bad passes consistently, even when they tried.
Yeah, but when they was crossing into the box, it was always a Chelsea head on Mendy. These things they add up, Obviously, their quality wasn't the best. Don't get me wrong. And if it was a better team, we could have been in more trouble. But for the most part, defensively, I think these 3 really did lock it down.
Fair enough. But if they locked it down, why did you give Mendy an 8?
Because when called upon, bro, he saved us.
No, I agree. But then they didn't lock it down.
But bro, I think you need to understand how much we gave the ball away in midfield today. I can't remember a game when we did it so much.
I'm not trying to you're wrong.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You're being a bit cheeky there. I like it. But no, that's why I gave him a 7, because I think Mendy was the 8. I think the backline were all 7s. Yeah, I get what you're trying to say. I know what you mean.
Really? No, I disagree. But we'll get to it. Like I said, I for the clearance, I'll give Charlie the 6, but personally, I wouldn't go higher. But we have a 6 and a 7. So, excuse me, I'll go to you, Pice. What do you reckon? How would you judge? Well, first of all, Chalobah, but I guess if we're talking about it defensively as a whole, how much value do you give? Yeah, sure, they didn't create that many chances, but I still feel like more than our defense being good, that was down to Watford just not being very good. And actually making use of how bad we were.
Personally, I thought the wing backs were a bigger problem today.
Sure.
I thought the defence, at times, Chalobah made a few good blocks. But yeah, I mean, the passing was really bad. But I know Con said they pressed us, but I've seen Chelsea play out of a press before, and it's miles better than that. It was just a really scrappy game, and it's hard to do ratings for these scrappy games because you have to try and remember little individual moments. And to be honest with you, my head is totally gone after that game. But I remember I think he had one shot blocked near the line, or was it across the goal? Pretty sure that was
very early in the game. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I think I would give him the highest rating just for that. Although I will mention, when he went into midfield, didn't like him there at all. I think we had the same problem. Couldn't get on the ball. Lost it on a couple of occasions. One occasion in particular, he got it in midfield, took a loose touch on his left foot, and then I think it was Sissoko ran onto it. So yeah, I'm not. I mean, I don't know. Like the whole sub is like confused the fuck out of me today. I can't lie. Like my head's just so gone. Like I don't know what formation we was playing at times. I don't know what play. Like it was an absolute mess of a game. But I think I'll give him a 6.5. I think for me.
Okay. Clutch. How do you see it?
Pretty much the same way Pius does, to be fair. I think he was a 6.5. There was times when he had moments where he saved us, but then there was times when we struggled. I mean, we didn't have possession. The back three was constantly under attack. The fortunate thing for him was that he didn't have Dennis on his side constantly going after him. I think that I think Dennis was probably by far their best attacker today. But at the same time, it is a game where you have to judge on moments, and off the moment where he did save us pretty heavily, I would go with the 6.5.
Fair. One last thing before it's about all defenders anyway. What I will say is, I mean, you touched on it there. I think it was Pice that talked about Jorginho. We missed Jorginho badly. We also missed Thiago Silva, hence why we were much calmer and more collected in the second half. Sure, to some extent, I'm sure it was also because Watford got a bit more tired. But still, and it's kind of like difficult. Sure, I can't expect any of the three that played to beat Thiago Silva, but we have to almost accept that without Thiago Silva, none of them looked as good as they do with him. At least as they usually do with him. Today, none of them looked as good. None of the three. So it's like that's kind of what I was getting at when even with you boys, I think 6.5 is a bit high, but again, it's democracy, so that's how it works. But like I said, for me, it's like we were so all over the place in every sense of the word. Yeah, we got last ditch tacklings, but we're last ditch tackling. Like we're not fighting relegation. We're trying to win the league. Like we shouldn't. Like our defenders should be at a higher standards than a few last minute tackles and winning a few headers when the ball's crossed into the box. We're not Newcastle. So that's why I just none of them stepped up to even do any of the sort of what Thiago Silva usually gives us. None of them. And of course, that's hard to expect that from anyone when Thiago Silva is literally one of the best centre backs to ever play this game of football. But still, I will say that. Let's go to Andreas Christensen. Better in the second half, all over the shop in the first half. Like there wasn't, and because he was the central centre back, he was the one that had the main job of controlling it all, and he didn't. Like he did none of it. Like honestly, and he again being in the middle, he has the biggest job of distributing play from the middle. Awful, honestly, awful. Like again, if you guys are going to go higher than I know, Connor already said he would go 7 for of them. I wouldn't go higher than 5 for Christensen. Honestly, I was really disappointed by the whole, except Mendy, but the whole back 7, shall we say, this centre back 3 and the midfield 4, if you want. Honestly, for me, I'd go 5. But this time, Clutch, I'll go with you first. How do you see that? Do you think, again, I'm being harsh? And also a bit of a reaction, if you want, in terms of missing Thiago, I guess?
I agree. We looked far better when Thiago Silva came on. We looked like we controlled the game a lot better. We looked like we had a lot more stability in different areas. I mean, Alonso wasn't as bad in the second half, but at the same time, I think you have Silva back there who's going to boss around Rudiger to get him into positions, get Christensen into positions. I don't think Christensen did that today. But at the same time, Christensen's been out for what? He hasn't played.
It was 3 games, man. It's not that long.
Still, you need that time in games. Games are important for everyone. I don't think anybody can just miss like 3 games and come back.
That excuse now in 10 minutes when we talk about it.
Oh, I'm still gonna rate Christensen not that high. I'd probably go with the 6 or a 5.5, one of the two.
Okay.
Because I just Watford got 13 shots on us. That's all I have.
Which one would you settle on if I pushed you for an answer, 5.5 or 6?
Since I've been negative all day, I'm gonna go with the 6. I'll do them a little bit more positive.
Okay. Let me go to you, Pice. Let's see what Con says in the end. Pice, what do you reckon? Christensen. Do you think I'm being harsh if I go 5? Or would you
Yeah, I generally do. I personally, I mean, I'm quite shocked by your reviews, actually. I thought he was our best defender today by a mile. He made the most clearances.
No, sorry.
He was
but
the
our
best
best
on the
defender
ball.
by a mile was Thiago Silva, even if he only played a half.
No, okay, I'll give you that. The starters, he was the best defender. He made the most clearances as far as I'm concerned. I thought he was the best and most, how do I say it? The best under pressure on the ball. I thought he used his body really well. I thought he was good in the air. I personally disagree with you two. I would give him the highest rating, especially because I think with everything that's going on right now, it's quite hard mentally to adjust straight into a game when all this is going on behind the scenes. He's probably getting told a lot of different things. So, I mean, I would give him a 7 personally.
And just because when you came on here and I asked you how you felt, you said you were going to be very pessimistic, and now you're dishing out 7.
Oh no, I will. I will wait for my other ratings. Just wait. I will just wait. Wait for my other ratings. There was so many other shit players than Christensen today. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have given Chalobah a 6.5 either. So when I said 5 for Christensen, this is me giving Chalobah 5.5, but or 6 maybe at a push. But fair enough, you know, I'll give you that one with the whole behind the scenes thing. I was just so disappointed. And I know someone said, how can you expect them to do any passing if the midfield was so bad? They all tried long balls and they were all awful. I've seen Christensen, I've seen Rudiger, Chalobah maybe a little bit less so. But I've seen all of them play great long balls. And they all played one long ball that was awful after the other. Sorry, go on, I didn't hear.
He only misplaced one long ball, to be fair.
And how many did he attempt? 2?
6.
And he misplaced just 1. That's not true. Where like that's just, what's a long ball? 7 meters.
It's off sofa score. It's true.
Yeah, but what's a long ball? Like when I'm saying long ball, I mean that's not to the midfield. I mean that's over to Pulisic or Mount or to Havertz.
Yeah, like switching the play long ball. Yeah, like what?
There's no chance. You know, I mean, maybe I'm just completely wrong. Yeah, fair enough. But that's not true at all, in my opinion. But hey, maybe I just saw a different game today. Hey, fair enough. You've gone 7. Thingy's gone. Thingy, that was rude. Clutch gone 6. For what you said in terms of the stuff behind the scenes, fair enough. I'll push myself to 5.5. Con, do you still stick by your 7, or now with what we've all said, would you go something different?
I just can't believe you've gone so low. I'm sitting here with Pies, bro. Like, I think he was really good today, especially defending wise, and everything was going on like Pies said. I think he was really good. I feel like just because how good we can play at times, I feel like you're being a bit too harsh with the ball playing thing, because when you have Saul, who's not showing for the ball, and then you got Loftus-Cheek, who's just sitting in front of players, like they don't really have many options, especially with the wing backs today. They don't have like many options to where to play the ball, bro. But boys, doing their job, they've done their job defensively, bro. And that's the important thing today.
Anfield, whether Saul shows for the ball or not. We also had Alonso on the pitch that day. Reece had been sent off, so we had Aspie on the pitch that day. And we played better than we did today. Like, if today is a 7, what was when we beat Juve 4-0? Like, that should have been 27 then, if today is a 7.
But, bro, every game's different. Every game's different.
Hang on, Juventus played like a 5-3-2. They didn't press us like Watford. They weren't on the front foot like Watford. Like, it's completely different, bro.
Yeah, sure.
We had the possession against Juventus. We weren't under the cosh like a Brentford or something like that. We had the possession. There was structure. You know what I mean?
Personally, like I don't want to give the centre backs too low of a rating like you're going here with Laurenz, because if he gets like a 5.5, I feel like we've conceded 2 or 3 goals. And that weren't the case, and they defended pretty well, all things considered.
And the goal wasn't on Christensen; it was on Rudiger and Loftus-Cheek. So
yeah, I agree.
Personally, I think he was the best one out of the 3. Personally,
fair enough. So you're sticking with the 7, Con?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Bloody hell, these long names and these point ratings, eh? No space on the pitch.
Just put AC, bro.
Yeah, but you know, I guess I'm putting Aspie, so I could. But let's get to Rudiger then. Again, if you guys are going to tell me he was great, I'm not sure what you're looking at. Again, I just like Rudiger's awful. Like defending for the goal, what is he doing? Running back was like an amateur. But that was not the only situation he did that. That was like 4 occasions where the guy was in front of him, and Rudiger, for the first time in like what feels like 10 months, I've seen him go backwards when trying to defend instead of being aggressive and taking the ball off the guy. He looked scared today. It was not scared in terms of actually scared, in terms of when someone was one-on-one with him. I'm not sure if that's just Dennis that kind of put a bit of fear into him, or if it was like, okay, I have no help from Alonso. I don't know. But all over the shop. Also, mainly the first 12 minutes before the game got stopped, but even after that, some of the passes he played into Alonso was awful, but he knows Alonso is awful. Stop giving him the ball when he has 3 players around him. What are you expecting him to do other than lose the ball? Like, punt it when you need to. Don't just give it to Saul and Alonso all the time when they clearly can't handle it. And that's also not being good. You know your teammates' limitations. Like, crazy to me. So, but at least Pice agreed, and Con as well, that Rudiger was at fault for the goal. So at least we're not going 7 for Rudiger, I hope. Again, now considering I have pushed my just my ratings, if I go for the 3, I had 5.5, 5.5, then I'd give Rudiger. I'll give him the 5 then, all right? And I know I said that for Christensen, but I adjusted that. But even 5, I feel almost wrong saying 5 because I was honestly very unhappy with all of them. But we've come to that conclusion already. So let me go back to you this time first, Con. You agreed that he was at least partly at fault for the goal. But how was he? Well, I guess aside from when we conceded the goal, and how much of a deduction would you give him for the goal? Con?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. No, thinking about it now, I said I'd give him all 7s, but Rudiger was the worst by a considerable amount today, I think. For his standards, I just don't think it was great, because normally he's fantastic when he's being pressed. Either he runs, he wins a free kick, he beats the player, or he finds a pass, and today he wasn't doing any of that. He defended relatively well, but the goal, it was just too passive. I'd probably give him a 6 or 5.5 between the 2. Just because, I don't know, how good he is and how that performance was, it wasn't great for him. He didn't put his name in lights today, that's for sure. But I don't put the performance on his head. I don't think the bad performance is on his head today.
No, of course. But I don't know. I feel like we're putting too much blame on 2 individuals today, or 3 individuals, about the performance, when I think pretty much all of the team was bad today. But hey, fair. That's what we're here for. But you said 5.5 or 6? Fair enough. Let me go to you, Pice. What do you reckon for Rudiger?
I was thinking like a 5, to be honest. I thought he was pretty average compared to his standards. Like, especially when a player is playing like so good, like every single game, and then he drops a game like this, you're like, come on, man. Like, I know you're better than that. Like, especially for the goal, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, I hate when defenders like get shot through their legs as well. It's so bad. But yeah, like when pressed today, I just didn't think he was as good as usual. Yeah, I don't really have many thoughts about him, to be honest. I just thought he was average / bad, to be honest. It wasn't the standards that he's been setting, that's for sure. It was definitely a drop off. Yeah, not as good as he usually is.
Fair enough. Well, now I feel like I've gone too high for Rudiger, because now that you've all gone lower, I'm like, okay, I could have gone lower, like I actually wanted to. But so Clutch, where do you sit then? Help us make a final decision.
I sit on a 5. I think he was pretty poor today, to be fair. I mean, most of the threat that came from Watford came from his side. Now, I don't think that's solely him to blame, but I also think he is a good enough defender that Dennis should not give him a problem. And Dennis was giving him a massive problem today. And it was not for me today. I do understand the reasons why he wasn't that great, but at the same time, for his standards, it wasn't it.
No, it really wasn't. It's a tough one. Even though I thought Rudiger was bad, I just don't think he was 1.5 bad than the other 2. It's like that I don't agree with, but fair enough. Let's get to Marcos Alonso. Now, I will say, as much as I'm going to be critical of him and how much him and Saul and Ruben especially in the first half, caused us as a team a lot of problems. That touch in the build-up to Mount's goal, also the ball into Kai Havertz, I guess, and also the header into Mount for Ziyech's goal. Those were two very good moments. But that was it. Literally everything else he did was absolute. No, one other good thing, he was apparently the first guy that called out the fan that was struggling in the crowd. So big up to you for that, Marcus. But in terms of football, you're awful. And to be honest, you should never be playing again. I know we don't have another left wing back, and seemingly, I mean, we'll get to Tuchel's comments about Saul in a second when he spoke about him potentially for second half, blah, blah. But because he had two good moments and Saul didn't, I'll give him a 1, and we'll see get Saul later. But this, like, Marcos Alonso is getting praised if we just call him a footballer. Like, when you see him play like he did today, when we see him play like he did in some other games recently, even United, in my opinion, I just like, who was in his body when he played those first few games of the season? Like, how can they possibly be the same player? Like, it's not even worlds apart. It's like entire universe is a part of how much worse he was. Like, you cannot give the guy the ball if an opponent is more than 2 yards close to it. Like, if anyone's closer than 2 yards to him, there's no way he does anything useful with it. He always just he passed it back to Rudiger in difficult situations, passed it back to Mendy in difficult situations. Even Saul passed it to Saul. I'm like, Saul was awful. But sometimes Alonso gave the ball. I'm like, even Jorginho would struggle with those kind of passes. Like, the guy's just barely a footballer, like I said. But again, credit where credit's due. Those two moments in the build-up for the 2 goals were good. I mean, let's see whether you guys are telling me I'm crazy, but maybe we'll come to the players where you guys are also going to be harsh. So let me go with you first. This time, Clutch. What do you reckon, Marcos Alonso? How would you summarize down? What would you rate him?
I mean, he lost possession 30 times today. Again, for the second game in a row, by the way. For me, I would have given him a 0 if it was pure, but he did call out the fans. So I mean, I am going to give him a little bit of props for that. Everything else he did today sucked. Even his header, sure, that was decent, but even at that point, like, if that's all you can do, I don't want you on the team anymore. Like, I want to back him, but it becomes so hard when the last 7 times we've seen him, we've either rated him a 0 or like a 2. I can't do that anymore, and it's really hurting our team. It costs a lot of things today, too. I mean, Pulisic had to defend, and God forbid do you want him to defend for the most part. Saul was terrible. I mean, that whole left side for the first half is just terrible. So I'd go with I want to give him a 0, but I'm going to be nice and go with a 1.
Fair enough. And yes, to the chat, Clutch did say 30. That's how many times he lost the ball. And just quickly, where did I see that? Someone said half the team is out and chill. Yes. But the players that were playing still played. So we have to rate the performance they had. We can't rate them, you're only the backup. That's why we're going to give you good ratings because you're not the first choice. It's not how it works. At least not in my opinion, Bill, but fair dues. So 2-1 so far. Pice, what do you reckon? I know you're not a big fan of Alonso. You was telling me crazy things at halftime, and then you was losing your head when he was still on at halftime. So what do you make of him?
Fucking worst player at Chelsea, bro, by far. I don't even care, bro. Honestly, I might have to go off stream before I say some bad things. Like, fuck, I can't fucking watch this guy anymore, bro. I can't. He literally stresses me out. I wanted to jump through my iPad and just attack him. Like, genuinely, he's so bad. He's so fucking bad, bro. Like, he can't run. Like, he can't defend. The amount of times where, you know what? The only time he actually, ironically, defended was late on in the game in the 89th minute when he didn't get skinned 1v1 by Dennis, who, by the way, is actually a pretty good player from what I've seen so far this season. But anyway, Alonso, like, just the biggest stripper on the football pitch in the club, man. Maybe even the Premier League. Like, people are telling me this guy's good at left wing back. He's not good at left wing back, bro. You just get blinded. People, not you, but people get blinded by the fact that this guy poaches a few goals. He's terrible. He makes our attack so much worse than it is, bro. Like, he ruins the fluidity. Like, he can't cross. Like, he can't run. Like, he can't overlap. He can't dribble. He can't defend. What can this guy do? Like, yeah, fair enough. He was involved in the 2 goals today, But that's what I've been banging on about for years about this guy. People get fooled, and this is why he stayed, because he gets involved in the goals, but he doesn't do his actual job, which is defending first and foremost. And he can't even do the basics, like run past the player or overlap. Like, oh my God, like honestly, I can't do it with this guy. I'm sorry, I had to do a rant on him. I agree with you on a 1, and fair play, by the way. If we're taking it away from football, of course, I'm sure he's a great guy, but we're talking about football, like a great guy off the pitch for sure. I'm sure, and on the pitch today, great guy for pointing out about the ill fan in the stand, who is obviously, it's great, by the way, that I think he's stabilised and was taken to hospital. That's great, because I was really worried about that when that happened, because it just seems to be happening so much lately, and it's terrible. And every time that happens, it's like my mind just gets flashed back to the Eriksen incidents, like where I was watching that on TV. It was just terrible. So fair play there. But for football, oh my God, bro, like please. Like, Laurenz, I'm sure you could do a better job at left wing back. Like, you can put a better shift in for real.
I mean, I wouldn't run as much as he does, but...
He doesn't run, bro. He doesn't run.
It's true. It's true.
He
I
walks.
could walk around for 90 minutes.
He jogs. He walks. He doesn't run. Run.
Like it's just crazy. Like, again, to bring it back to the whole contract talks, Marcus Alonso, at least what I found online, is on £100,000 a week. If Marcus Alonso is on £100,000 a week, Christensen deserves $1 million. Because if we're comparing ability of footballer here, it's ridiculous. Rudiger has only been offered £40,000 a week more than Alonso. And I know saying only £40,000 is ridiculous. Obviously, we're talking crazy Premier League football money here. Don't take it to normal money, right? This is obviously different thing, right? But it's mental, absolutely mental. But Con, what about you? Would you go 1? Would you go 0? Where would you go?
I'm actually gonna be kind of positive here, and I'm gonna give him a 2. He gets 1. He gets a rating for each time he was involved in the goal. But Laurenz, I'm not going to sit here and just bash him, because if there's any Chelsea fan that rates this guy, you're off your nut, mate. You're drinking too much. Put the Fosters down and go to rehab for a bit. Like, this guy isn't good. We've known this for years. I don't know why he's still here. Marina, you want 25 mil for this guy. No one's paying that. No one's paying 25 mil for Alonso, I promise you. So I'm not just going to sit here and
pay someone 25 mil to take him.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and bash the guy. He's not good enough for Chelsea. He hasn't been for years. He has this little purple patch, like Pius says, and then people are like, you know what? He's actually not that bad. No, in reality, he's dog. He's dog. But we've known this. There's nothing he excels at. Even his goal scoring ability, we've seen when Chilwell's played there, he's replicated it, so it's not that hard. I'm just tired of him still being here. Players like him, Barkley and all that, I just don't understand why they're still here. It's not that have an agenda or anything. They're just not good enough. Honestly, they're not good enough. But yeah, I'll give him a 2 just because he was involved in 2 goals. And I don't know, man. It was another terrible performance from him. It really was.
It really, really was. Before we get to Aspie, guys, and we do have to hurry this up at some point. I only ever realized this too late. I do apologize. But we have over 400 people watching. Again, big up yourself. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers, and smash that like button for me. We need to be at least at 200, if not 250 likes. So go down below, click that like button. Just one click of a button. Doesn't cost you any money. Barely cost you any time. And I massively appreciate it. Let's get to Aspie. I mean, to some extent in the first half, I'm like, yeah, he was bad. But nothing happened on the right side of the pitch, because Watford just tried to exploit Alonso, and we were overall too bad to even have our own build-up anyway. So we didn't do anything on the right. We were just suffering on the left, and the right side was kind of just sitting there hoping that we'd play better. But he was still not good. And I remember, and I know people will probably criticize Hakim Ziyech for that pass out of play shortly after he came on. But no, Ziyech was fully right. Aspie should be there. The fact that's why Aspie can't be playing right wing back. We were drawing at the time. It was 1-1 at the time, away at Watford. And we're trying to win the league here. And our captain, our wing back, is basically right next to our centre back. What are you doing? Get your legs up the pitch and do something. So, again, I'll give him a 4. But see, that's why I'm so struggling, because Rudiger actually had moments where I'm like, that's awful from you. While Aspie was just like, just didn't run around enough and didn't do enough, but didn't have like a moment where I'm like, okay, that cost us this or that cost us that. So it's really hard for me. But obviously, Aspie and Alonso and the two midfielders, especially so, were the big reason why also the defenders were bad. But I don't know. I'll go forward. Maybe I'll change it again. So I go with you first this time, Con. Aspie, what'd you make of it? Did you also struggle to really put down a rating for the reasons I just said?
Yeah, no, I find it hard to rate Aspie today. Like you said, they target Alonso's side because they know he's dog. It's the same reason why teams take long shots when Kepa's in it, you know. It's a glaring weakness for everybody to see, you know. He did have some alright moments, Aspie. He did. I can remember a few good passes, a few good tackles. A very average game. I think that's how to word it today. He had a very average game, so I'd go with a 5, just because I don't think he was particularly poor. I don't think he was particularly good. I think it's just an average performance.
Fair. Clutch, what about you?
I'd probably go with... I'd agree with you guys. I would go with a 4. I mean, we know Aspie is not going to provide offense in this position. It's just something we know. That's why every time there's a preview, we try to put him in the back 3, but even in the back 3, it's like there's no room for him. Unfortunately, being the club captain, this is a place where he's going to end up being because, I mean, what's your other options? I mean, Callum and Pulisic seem like they're going to probably end up going to the left wing back spot if it's not Saul. So if James isn't fit, you're probably going to get Aspie there. And just offensively, he doesn't do anything. But, I mean, he's 32? So we know that he's not going to be able to get up the pitch all the time, every game like we want him to. But he also lost possession, I think, 19 or 20 times a day, which is not great from him, considering he only had like 60 touches or something like that. So I'd go with a 4.
Fair enough. And then Pice is finishing off for Aspie. What do you reckon?
Yeah, around the same, to be fair. It's just pretty average performance. I did say, like, there's a lot of space down the wing-back side today. Both of them, I thought, were getting caught too high up the pitch, and then they was getting us on the counters quite a lot. Which is obviously... I get what Aspie's trying to do, because obviously he's obviously been instructed to try and like imitate Reece James's role as best he can, because they're kind of like wingers anyway. We need the wing backs to push up, but when you haven't got the legs like these two, it's very, very hard. So that's why a lot of people want or are more in favour of Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic playing wing back, which happened actually towards the end. Pulisic did play right wing back. So yeah. It's just very simple, to be honest. They both are not quick enough for the wing-back position, but we all know that anyway. So, yeah, probably a 4 or maybe a 4.5. I don't know. It's a very hard one for Aspie, because I just felt it was just too much space down both sides, to be honest.
It was. I mean, if you're going to go 4, it's 4. If you're going to go 4.5, I don't really know, because Con said 5, obviously. So, I don't know. I'll to be honest, I'll stick with 4, quite frankly, because I will also say this whole, like, they were caught high. That why partly also why that doesn't usually happen is why usually our wide centre backs are way more aggressive, and today they weren't. I don't know why, but like Chile and Reece are often very high up the pitch, and we should be getting into dangerous positions. But that's when you see our right centre back and our left centre back storm up like crazy and run into the tackle, which is the opposite of what Rudiger did for the goal. We'll get to that goal because obviously people were talking about it in the chat already. We'll get to Ruben Loftus-Cheek now before we, finish the very negative stuff on Saul Niguez. Let's get to Ruben. Let's quickly talk about the goal. So now, partly also, I also think Chalobah's pass to Ruben there, stupid pass to play. Chalobah is like, Ruben doesn't even see that, but Chalobah literally looks at Ruben and sees there's 2 Watford players storming at Ruben in that moment. Like, you can talk about that Ruben dribbles too much or try to open his body up, but there's 2 people running onto him as he gets the ball. Yeah, checking over your shoulder, knowing what's behind there. Sure, he should have done that. Maybe he should have just passed it straight back to Chalobah and not even try to open his body up and obviously be unfortunate to lose the ball. But that ball by Chalobah shouldn't even happen in the first place. Then Ruben shouldn't do what he does. But to say it's only Ruben's fault that we conceded that goal is the most ridiculous thing I've heard. Because by that logic, that means whenever a midfielder loses the ball, you automatically concede a goal. And do you know how often Jorginho loses the ball sometimes, Coba loses the ball sometimes, Kante loses the ball sometimes. Every team's midfield loses the ball sometimes. If that automatically meant a goal, then where would we be in football? So to just say the whole goal is mainly on Ruben Loftus-Cheek is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, honestly. And I know I'm a Ruben fanboy. I get that. I fully admit that. Everyone knows this. But still, ridiculous, right? Rudiger was running backwards. Rudiger could have tackled or attacked Dennis when he was still outside the box, but he ran backwards and backwards and backwards. By the time they were in the box, then obviously you can't tackle him anymore. And then, got the ball through his legs. So, I don't know. Ruben, first half was poor, man. It was poor. It's just, he was so negative as well. See, that, I didn't even see that many times that he tried to dribble. There was a couple of occasions, then he lost it. But for me, I was actually sitting here at times where I'm like, do something. Whenever he received the ball, just passed it back every time. I'm like, and against United, at times it was the same. I'm like, why are you so negative all of a sudden? The reason why Ruben was so refreshing for a lot of the games that he's played so far this season was that he was so positive and always try to be going forward. But today, whenever he receives the ball, just back. And I know, obviously, again, Aspie didn't help on his side. Saul was obviously a big problem for Ruben next to him as well. But not good. But then, to be fair, in the second half, first looked much better when he played in a more forward role. Obviously, that was only 10 minutes or whatever until Chalobah had to come off. But even then, as a Saul 6, I was like, how were you that bad in the first half, but actually decent now in the second half? So I didn't think he improved, which is, again, why I think our centre-back ratings are way too high, because I think they were average at best all game, and Ruben at least had decent moments in the second half, while being awful in the first half. So I would have given Ruben a 5, because I think the first half was probably a 3, and the second half was probably a 6. So that's why I end up on something like a 5, even though that's not maths, but I'll go 5 anyway. So let's see what you boys have to say. Pice, what do you reckon?
For Saul?
No, Ruben.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought we was on Saul then. No, but Ruben, yeah, I mean, I was listening to the mistake. I do kind of agree with you in the fact that it was just a simple turn. He lost the ball. He got dispossessed. I think, obviously, it's a mistake. He's even said, he holds his hands up. Yeah, holds his hands up for the mistake. But, yeah, I mean, it wasn't too deep. I mean, he tried to turn him and lost the ball. It's what happened after that, which, it's still a big phase of play for me. They still had a lot to do from that, even though it was one-on-one. I didn't think when Ruben lost the ball they was going to score. Thought it might, obviously, it was going to end up in a chance probably, but didn't think they was going to score. So, yeah, I think in the first half he really struggled to get in the game. As I said, the space in between those two, the balance just wasn't right, man. It just wasn't right. I was begging for Jorginho to come on, but of course he was trying to rest him, which is great. Now he's got fully rested. Hopefully he's okay. But yeah, just they were so far apart for me. I don't know what was happening. And to be fair, they hardly ever played together. So I kind of get it, right? It's the chemistry's not going to be there. It's not like a Kante and Kovacic or a Jorginho and Kovacic or any other pivot we could use. So I do get it in a sense, but yeah, overall, just I don't know. It's not one of his best games for me. Didn't really drive forward as much either. There was one time where he flicked it over someone's head, and then went past one player and won a foul. And I was like, yes, Ruben, that's what you do all the time. You dominate these midfielders, and he just wasn't doing that tonight. So, I mean, yeah, he's had a couple of iffy games now, but I still back him. I'll never stop backing Ruben because I know the potential that he has when he plays. I know, not in terms of age, but I know the potential that he can do amazing things and dominate games. So, yeah, I've seen that from him, so I'll back him. Simple as that.
But what rating would you give him then?
On today, I mean, we've got Aspie as a 4, and like you said, it's hard because Aspie didn't really make any clear-cut mistakes, so we can't really give him any higher than that, right? Because Loftus-Cheek did.
I think
still
in the
make
second
mistakes.
half, Ruben was a lot better. Than obviously Aspie came off, but second half, and people in the chat are losing it here, saying 2, 3, 2.5. I'm like, yeah, I know he gave the ball away for the goal.
Yeah,
Again, in my opinion,
it's
way
a
more
hard one.
Rudiger's fault than his fault. And also, again, a bad pass. But in the second half, we had control and he was the lone DM. So how can you all tell me that he was awful? That he was awful? Like, again, his first half was awful, but the second half wasn't awful. I don't know where people are getting that from. But hey, fair enough. I thought that the same thing about Christensen and Rudiger and Chalobah, I guess. But here we are. People have different opinions. But so where would you go? Would you go for Ligaspi? Would you go lower? Would you go higher?
I might let the others decide this. I'm quite undecided.
Fair enough. But anywhere between a 4 and a... But like what
Yeah,
area
like
are we talking about?
if I go a 3.5, then I just don't know, because I don't know if he was... I mean, was he as bad as Aspie? I don't... They were kind of like... I don't know. It's hard. It's very hard. I guess because a lot of the problems did come through the middle, I may have to give him lower. I'm not going to lie. I may have to give him a 3.5 just because that midfield was such a big issue. I mean, Sissoko absolutely
I
dominated.
don't understand you people. Honestly, I can't understand how we were so bad defensively and as a team in the first half, and you're giving the defenders 7s, and then Ruben as an equally bad first half, but a good second half, and we're sitting here saying
because the problem was in the middle, Laurenz. The problem was the middle of the pitch. That's why the defense was so exposed.
Football is not just about one area of the pitch. Then the other people.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of the time in games. Areas win matches or lose matches a lot of the time. Of course,
yes, they do. But
so if we had Jorginho and Loftus-Cheek today, it would have been completely different. Or Jorginho and Kovacic.
How is Ruben getting a 3.5 then?
Because he was part of whether he was solely to blame or not, he was still like a part of the same shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it was still bad.
Disagree that it was just the midfield's fault. I just think it was also the defense's fault. But hey, fair enough.
Yeah, because of the space they had, but okay. It's because of the space in the midfield that they had to operate in. Then they could expose our defence, because then they went down the flanks. Usually we control possession, right?
Where they don't. Like, but don't we usually also control possession from defence outwards?
Yeah, but again, like another big thing was these two today never offered for the ball. So, like Con was saying earlier, where do you want the defence to pass it to? Like, it's a lot of the time it went up long, and that's why Havertz played so well today, because he held the ball up really well. So, like personally for me, I just felt that like it's not just Saul has to show for the ball; they both need to show for the ball. When Kante plays, shows for the ball. When Jorginho plays, shows for the ball. Kovacic does it. Like.
Don't think Kante does it, but I know people disagree with me there. But anyway, no more than the guys, the two that they did, obviously, but not on the same level as Jorginho and Kovacic did. But anyway, yeah, I disagree. I just think the defense was also bad. But anyway, we have 3.5, and like I said 5. So let's see where we end up overall. Con, what do you reckon?
We'll go with a 2, and I think I'm being nice with that. I think it was awful today. Laurenz, I know he's your boy, but it was awful.
I don't understand.
The fact you said you blamed Rudiger more, bro. I don't get it. Bro, like, it's such a stupid mistake he made. Like, why does he always have to do that? Just learn to release the ball, Ruben, man. Just learn, please. I know it was a bad pass, but you can just pass backwards, man. He wasn't showing for the ball. He lost the ball so many times today. He was awful. Against United, he was like, Today he was awful. Like, I know all 3 of us are going to rip Saul, so you got to be fair and rip Loftus as well. He was god awful today. In the second half, he only seemed better because Thiago Silva sorted the mess out. Look at Thiago Silva when he came on. He was finding passes.
Completely contradict each other, though.
No, because the defense still defend. What did Loftus-Cheek do?
No,
the defense still defended.
But if you can say that Thiago fixed the problem, then why are the defenders for the first half not getting the worst rating?
They still defended affairs. Like, it's Loftus. Like, the game of football is won or lost in midfield. That's how the saying goes, and it's so true. If you look at today, Saul and Loftus were god awful, and I love Loftus, bro. I do. He was the first real academy graduate I really loved, and today he was god awful, man. He didn't do anything, bro. I know he got an assist, but he was so bad. He was so bad. That first half performance, bro. I wouldn't have been surprised if him and Saul got hooked. If him, Alonso's, them 3, Alonso, Saul, and Loftus-Cheek.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Like I said, my first half, I
Them
would have
three
said
today.
3.
It wouldn't be fair of us to rip Alonso, give him 1. We're probably going to give Saul 0, let's be honest. No way Loftus gets a 5. There's no way that happens. I think a 2 is being generous here. I'm sorry, I love Loftus, but today he was god-awful, man. And he cost us a goal.
I disagree that he cost us a goal. Rudiger cost us a
Bro,
goal.
he lost the ball and they were
Yeah,
ours.
but that logic.
Quick.
But everyone lost the ball on occasions, and we didn't concede.
But don't lose it in stupid areas, bro. That's the thing. Don't lose it in dumb areas when you don't need to. Fairs if you want to try something.
It was just a midfield.
Bro, like, if you look where he had the ball and where the line was, like, it was wide turn there. Just pass backwards, Loftus. Like, he needs to, like, look, if you look at Kovacic this season, bro, he's learnt when to pass the ball now. I think Loftus needs that similar sort of lessons, you know. I think Tuchel's incorporated it in Kovacic, and now he needs to incorporate it in Loftus. Like, learn to just take a touch and pass it. You don't always need to dribble yourself out of a situation, you know. And in Loftus' defense,
he just opened his body. He hadn't even touched the ball yet by the time he lost it.
Yeah, but just pass it off, innit? Then you don't have that problem.
I completely agree.
It's all about it, Laurenz.
We're talking about 2 different things here. I'm not disagreeing that he was awful in the first half. I just don't
even in the second half,
Bro, it's about awareness, Laurenz, on that mistake as well. You've got to be aware of who's around you. Like, he got picked off so easily on that.
Yeah,
he did.
Like, he didn't scan. Like,
but you got to let me talk as well. You are telling me, both of you, that we had no control, right? And that is true in this first half. In the second half, we did actually have control, and he was also on the pitch, was he not?
No, we were still shit in the second half. Let's be honest. We were still really bad in the second half.
We weren't great in the second half. We had more control, and that's thanks to Thiago Silva, bro. And then even when Mount went in the pivot, he showed Loftus levels in there.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. I felt Mount, every time dropping him, was actually really good at getting
I hate to say it, Laurenz, but Loftus is starting to look like a bench, like a super sub sort of player, because both times he started now,
but he always did when we have fit players. He was never going to be end up a starter. But fair enough, fair enough.
I know you love him, bro. It's hard. If Ziyech dropped a stinker like Loftus today, or Pulley did, Pulley weren't great today, let's be honest, I would defend him that little bit extra. So I get it, bro. I understand.
I'm totally fine with giving low ratings, but I cannot comprehend how we're giving Ruben a 2 and you guys were giving defenders a 7. That is baffling to me.
But bro, you can't give Alonso a 1 and then Loftus a 5.
Laurenz,
maybe 5 is high. Fair enough, but
Laurenz,
I can't. None of you are still. Yeah, fair enough. It doesn't matter. We need to get going at some point. You said what you wanted to say. Clutch, where do you sit on it?
Love you, bro.
I agree with Pius that, like, if you're gonna give Aspie a 4, you can't really go higher for that. Go higher on Ruben. I personally would want to go with a 4. But I could agree to the points that both Pius and Con made. I mean, everybody makes good points. I do think he was better in the second half, but I don't think it was, like, miles better. Because, I mean, we still struggled against Watford, of all teams.
Fair. So Pius, did you say 3? Or what did you say again?
I said 3.5 just based on Aspie getting a 4. Like, yeah.
So 2, 3.5, 4. I give you it. Maybe 5 was a bit high. I'll push it down to a 4.5. But
I'm not gonna lie. I low-key want to change it to a 1 just to bring down the rain a little bit more.
Oh, bloody hell. I guess a 3 then overall. I guess 3.5 maybe. I don't know. I'll put a 3 because I can't be bothered to figure it out in my head. Let's get to Saul then. Saul, Pice. I think you had a lot of things to say because when I started talking about Ruben, you thought we were talking about Saul. So say what you want to say about Saul.
0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That's all I have to say. Actually, 7 passes completed in 45 minutes. Like what? Like,
wait, Pies, can you repeat that? Did you just say he completed 7 passes?
He completed 7 passes in 45 minutes.
7? Nah. Get this guy. How did we get this guy on a loan and we still got robbed?
Jorginho completes 7 passes in like 5 minutes, for fuck's sake. Like, come on. Like, he was nowhere. He just doesn't have the intensity to play in the Premier League. And I really struggle seeing how he would do any better at left wing back because, I mean, to be fair to him, the only thing about left wing back is he will be on the ball a lot. Like, he'll be on the ball a lot. So we'll be able to see if he's I mean, he's definitely good enough technically. Like, we've seen that in the past, but is he still the same technically now? We don't know. We've not seen him be under pressure a lot. So if he does play left wing back, we'll have to review him. But in centre midfield, bro, absolutely nowhere. No positional awareness. As I said, the whole midfield was getting absolutely bodied. Like, he has no strength. Like, he's just getting overrun. He's not quick, which is a problem in midfield, unless you can control and lock down the game like Jorginho, who is a very rare breed, and that's why Jorginho is so good, like a Busquets as well. They're so good because they have the intelligence. Saul clearly doesn't. Maybe he used to, but he doesn't anymore, clearly. So he was 100% a zero. How can you give him anything worse? Like, I mean, how can you give him anything higher? You can't. He was awful. Zero. Like, there's nothing. He did nothing. I think he made one pass out to the wide, but like, yeah, fair enough, good ball, but oh well, you know what I mean? Like, what else did you do? That's one thing in 45 minutes. So, like, yeah, he was absolutely abysmal, bro. Like, I don't know what's up with this guy, and I'm more surprised than anything because I was getting a little bit excited actually today because Tuchel's quotes are like, you know what, Saul's had that adaptation period out. I think he's ready now. Well, I mean, that's 2 Premier League starts, 2 times you've been hooked off 45th minute, like ready? Are you joking? Like, I don't know, bro. I'm so confused.
Yeah, fair enough. Let me go with you, Clutch. What do you make of him? Or how would you, obviously, I presume you're going to say zero as well, but how would you explain it, I suppose?
He had zero control, and he never found himself in the right position to either become an outlet for the ball or help out with Rudiger or help out with Alonso. Not that it would have done much help because they both would have probably got dusted. But at the same time, every time you've seen anybody on that left side, it was just never a good positioning. So they always had a ball down the side to break down the middle. I mean, he was never in the right position. He was never able to control the game. He never got into the game. And for 45 minutes having 7 passes, I mean, it explains itself. I mean, him and Alonso needed to go off at halftime. Fair enough that Andy got himself a yellow card in the first half off a silly challenge and almost got sent off. He probably should have got sent off, to be fair, because he made a stupid, reckless challenge when he was on the yellow, too. So I'd give him a 0.
Fair enough. Con, I'll go with you as well before I give my own kind of verdict. What do you make of it? Because it was just not good, was it?
Bro, if we was Watford fans, we'd be giving him a 10 because he was their best player today. Bro,
was it worse
it's actually a joke
against Watford?
Yeah, I don't know if it was worse, bro.
I mean, at least
recency bias, and I just witnessed this.
At least Bakayoko got sent off, you know.
Like,
at least he got sent off and didn't make us watch 45 minutes.
Like, no disrespect to Saul, right? It's clearly not going to work out for him. That's the second time he started and been hooked because he's been playing awful. Like, I don't want to see this guy play again. I'm not going to lie. I don't. I thought after the time he had out working with Tuchel, we was going to see something good today. But my God, it was bad. It was really bad. And I don't like just slating a player. I don't like doing that. I used to do it back in the day, but these days not so much. But it was bad. Like, I can't remember a performance like that for a good minute. It was terrible, man. And a 0, I don't even think that does it justice. How can you complete 7 passes when you're meant to be the guy running it? Like, all we needed from Saul today was to be what's the word?
Competent?
Yeah, that's it. Competent. That's all we needed of him today. We didn't need him to do anything special. Just be competent and just lock it down for a game against Watford. He couldn't do that, bro. So what is the point of him? If he can't do it against 17th place Watford, what is the point of having him? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be really cutthroat here, but he's not good enough. He's just not good enough. I would give him a -5 today if I could, but obviously we're not going to do that. We're not that childish, but 0. Big fat 0.
Yeah, it was really bad today. It was obviously how we spoke about, like, he only played 7 passes. Does anyone actually have to set how many he attempted? Because obviously that would also be interesting.
9.
9. Okay, so hey, it's good completion rate. But the big problem for me wasn't even like when he was on the ball. There was one really bad ball that he played. But for me, it's like, okay, so you basically haven't gotten the chance yet. And then you actually get your chance. And he looked like he couldn't be bothered. Like, the guy was just jogging around. Like, there was so many moments. especially in the first half, because obviously, I say especially, he was subbed at halftime. But in the first half, there was it feels weird because obviously the game was like stopped for half an hour after 12 minutes. Watford had the ball in front of him. They took a heavy touch, and we're so used to whether it's Cover or Georgie or Kante, obviously, being like exactly in that moment when you see your opponent taking a heavy touch, that's when you're on them. You jump on them. And he always was just running around, like barely, like jogging around. Like I'm like, he didn't even look like he wanted to play. I'm like, what are you doing? Like it's very, very frustrating. But yeah, I suppose it is that, Sarah. Let me quickly read out what Tuchel said about Saul Niguez. So he said, I don't know where he goes from this performance. We had two options: take Marcus off and try Saul as a wing back. I thought it was not the right match to try this. And also that partly was because of the yellow card, like Clutch said. Maybe he could have even gotten the second yellow. But I will say, I don't think the first yellow was a yellow, personally. Because Rudiger starts pushing the guy, then the guy runs past Rudiger, and then Saul comes in as well. And they kind of both half pushed him. I'm like, it's not enough of either to be a yellow, in my opinion, but it doesn't really matter. But yeah, if your manager says, I don't know where he goes from this performance, also Tuchel clearly misjudged training, because he said, like Pies touched on yesterday, he's like, yeah, he feels he's ready now, and he's been, feeling better and, more confident. And then he does that today. Just not it. Con has told me that he does need to leave soon. So I will say, Con, quickly, at least the front three, how would you summarize them, and what rating would you give those guys?
Pulisic, I'd probably give a 4 today. I thought he was really poor. As much as I love him, I thought he was really poor. Didn't really do much. Havertz, Mount, thank you very much. You carried us to a win today. These two, beautiful. Like that. I thought that was absolutely amazing today, especially Kai. This is why we're always so harsh on Kai when he doesn't play well, because this kind of performance, he was amazing today. Absolutely amazing. I love this German guy, bro. He's got so much potential. And Mason Mount as well. Thank you very much, boys, because you carried us to a win today. And that's what we needed. I know we always go on about wing-back scoring, etc., but these two today, perfect. And Thiago Silva as well, love him. I didn't want him playing today because this guy needs to rest, please. But he came on, we looked better, shock. So, yeah, I would give them both 9s. I thought that was fantastic today. I'm so tempted to give him a 10, actually. No, I'm going to give him a 10 because what they played with today was absolutely poor. Even Pulley as well, we weren't that great. So these two get 10s. Love them.
Fair enough. Con, thank you for coming. As always, everybody check out Con on Twitter. Help him get to 100,000 followers. Con, as always, appreciate you. And we'll chat to you soon, boy. But boys, do you agree on what he said? Let's go with Pulisic first, because he was a bit more critical on him, obviously. What I will say, what I will give Pulley a little bit of credit for, I thought he actually did very well in what I expect from him. When he actually played right wing back, I saw him clear a corner with his head, a cross with his head lay on when we was kind of a little bit defending that 2-1 lead. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I was kind of impressed by him, how he did that. Still doing nothing crazy going forward. And there was obviously once Ruben obviously fed him with a decent ball, although Ruben slightly overhit it in the first half. And Pulisic was just like, come on. I was like itching for him to score. Obviously at the time it was 1-1 and not 2-1 yet, I think. And he kind of just slipped again. And my girlfriend said, I swear every time he needs to stay on his feet, he slips at the moment. Like against United as well the other day. He always just slips. I'm sure slipping is always a bit unlucky, but like make sure you don't slip all the time. I didn't think it was quite as bad as some people in the chat said. For me, because what I will say about the front three today, the front three had to do the job of the midfield four, let's call them the wing backs and the midfield two. Additionally, especially Pulisic. Like we can talk about that Pulisic was bad. He was playing with Alonso and even Rudiger and Saul. Like obviously they had the more struggling side, obviously. And he was trying to help defensively, wasn't very good at it, I will say, at trying to help. But I don't think he was awful, but I don't think he was good. I probably would have given Pulisic a 6. But again, this is in mind that I wouldn't have given any of the defenders as high a rating as they got. But yeah, my rating for Pulisic probably would have been a 6. I'm not sure if Con actually set a rating for Pulisic, but hey, here we are.
He said 4.
So, said 4? All right, I think that's personally a bit harsh. But hey, Clutch, what do you make of him?
I think he was pretty poor, to be fair. I mean, but I also think there were reasons for that. I mean, everybody would be poor in this team if they had to deal with what he had to deal with today. I mean, there's not too much to say. I mean, you had to come back and you had to defend for both Alonso, Saul, and Rudiger at the same time. And I mean, we just know that's not what he does. We know that his energy is better spent attacking. And for the first 30 minutes, he was getting battered because by the time he got the ball, he was getting clotheslined or whatnot. But then there was a couple moments he made really poor decisions. He had Havertz that he could have played the ball through to, didn't do it, or at least didn't do it early enough that he should have, where he could have easily got it, and he ended up getting the offsides goal. He had that one time when it was one of the better plays that Ruben made on the day, where he was breaking out to the side and he slowed it down and ended up, I forgot what he did at the end, but it was that end product once again. Oh yeah, that's what he did. It's just, I think he was really poor. I'd probably give him a 5 or a 5.5 to be fair. But I would also say, I mean, it's kind of like an asterisk because, I mean, like you said, he had to do the work of the midfield four today too, as well as be up front.
Fair. Pys, then, what do you reckon?
I mean, I agree. I thought he was really poor. And I kind of keep getting this thing with Pulisic where I said it a lot of time, like, he's either really good or he's really shit. Like, it's how it is. That's my view on him. And it always has been. He's either unplayable or he's really, really bad. I just felt like today, every touch he did was just off. Like, he used to be so good. And I know he still can be, but he used to be so good at receiving the ball and actually using his body and turning players. Like, I always remember the Porto game, for example. So good. But today, just loose touches and in attack, like, I don't know, man. Like, I thought as well, people you guys aren't mentioning as well, I think you got to release that ball to Havertz earlier on the offside goal, bro, like, for me. So yeah, I thought he was really, really poor today. Yeah, I mean, maybe Tuchel does have a case for saying he's a better super sub, to be honest with you. Because the last couple of times I've been really disappointed in him starting. And I'd 100% have Callum on the left again against West Ham for me.
Fair. So what did you say a rating there? If so, I misheard it.
Oh, it's difficult. I mean, we've got Loftus-Cheek down as a 3, and I mean, he was definitely similar for me. Honestly, he was really, really bad for me. Okay. Yeah, I thought he was really bad. Like, I can't remember anything good he done. Like, genuinely, I just can't. Unless one of you guys can jog my memory.
Clearing a cross with a header in the box.
That's true. That's actually true. Okay, maybe that bumps.
I thought as a wing back, he was actually quite decent.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that. As a wing back, he was actually quite good. Although there was one time where I was nearly punching my iPad because
bad cross, yeah.
No. There was a ball that came in or something, and he could have chested it, but he headed it out, I think, for a corner or a throw, and then they put I was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Because he had so much time, and he just decided to head it out, and I was like, oh my God, no, they're going to score from this, but luckily they didn't, but I'll give him a 4 because he did a good shift at right wing back.
4 because he did a good shift at right wing back. Fair enough.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, you can't on this performance. You can't be starting on Saturday. I'm sorry, you just can't.
No, I agree. I agree with that he should be starting on Saturday, but I don't think it was quite as bad. But I guess overall we have a 5. Then fair enough. Let's get to we'll get to Mount last because he was clearly the standout in my opinion. I didn't think Kai was as good as Con did. I thought it was good, but not as good as Con did. Again, I still have this confusion in my head. Why Mendy kept playing long balls to Pulisic and not to Havertz. Havertz is way taller. Why did Mendy constantly play to Pulisic? Like, how are we expecting him to win these against centre-backs? I don't understand this. But whatever the idea behind it was, Kai was decent. The assist for Mount, very good vision. Wasn't being stupid. So many players in that position just take a shot because they're so close to goal and it's like kind of open but kind of not. but he had the vision to see Mount next to him, who was in a better position, and he squared it, did really well. So fair play to him. I personally would have given Havertz a 7, because I do also think that him and Mount, I won't go as high as Con did for Mount either. Although Mount more so because he also in the second half, obviously he helped, was part of why we had a little bit more control. And Havertz was good. But I still feel like when the midfield struggles so much, the front three shouldn't just stay forward. Just like, obviously I know manager instructions, but I feel like just read the game. Like the manager can't tell you everything. Like he's not your dad. You're grown men. You're footballers. You shouldn't be having every inch of what you have to do be told. But I feel like they, especially Kai, like you could, if you just drop a little bit more, you make it a bit easier for Alonso and Aspie to play balls to, for Saul and Ruben to play balls to, and even for the centre back three to play longer balls to and relieve some pressure for us, which I didn't think he did that part quite enough. But when we actually did have one of those few occasions, we did have the ball in forward areas, he was good. So I was going to go 7, but yeah, that's me. Pies, I'll go back to you now. What do you reckon for Kai? Or do you think even a 7 was high? Obviously, concept 10.
I would have gone a lot higher than 7. I can't lie. I thought he was our best overall player today. I thought he did the most work. I thought he was the outlet. I thought he ran the defenders ragged. I thought he relieved a lot of pressure on us. Especially, why? Because I said Pulisic was so non-existent for me. It was kind of almost like him and Mount up there at times. I thought he played really well. I'm not going to lie. This was one of Havertz's really good performances, and Tuchel picked up on it as well. He said he played fantastic. I agree. I just think he done a lot of work today. Was involved in anything positive we actually had to do. So, or anything positive we did in the game. I'll give him an 8 at least for me, because I thought just the overall performance I thought was very polished. So yeah, I'll give him an 8 at least.
I did just see a comment there by AMZ in the comments saying, actually, if AC and Trev are 6.5, guys, at least 7.58. I do actually agree with that. Obviously, when I say 7, this is my rating, and I wouldn't have had these guys as high as they are, the defenders, but I do agree with that comment. Sorry, just quickly before I react to what you just said, Pies. I appreciate that, some of you guys in the chat are English, and you don't like when people rate Pulisic when you think he played badly. But there's no need to say, oh, I thought he wasn't as bad as Pies and Con did. I'm not American. So stop with this yanking, these American stupid people. Hey, all right, calm it down a little bit, because there's no need. You can just say you disagree with them, not because they're American. You can't just disagree with them, right? That's fair enough. That exists in life. But Clutch, what do you reckon? How good do you think Kai was?
I thought Kai was very good in the second half. In the first half, I think it was a little bit different. I didn't see him or Mount get the ball as much, but in the second half, I think both of them especially took off. Like I said earlier before the show, that I was not going to give anybody higher than an 8 because of the performance today. I mean, if we played a lot better overall, I think it would be a little bit different. So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to even go as high as a lot of people. But I would probably say he'd be a 7.5, but it'd be like a really high 7.5. I mean, he was turning the ball, he was driving, he had that one pass at the end to Ziyech that was absolutely insane, where he headed the ball. If it was Lukaku, that's a goal. Unfortunately, it was Ziyech, so that was the only reason we didn't get the headed goal there. But I think Havertz was probably our second best player on the day. I don't quite agree he was our best, because I do think Mason was doing everything that Mason does today and doing it well. So, I mean, I'd go with the 7.5.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, it's a tough one for me, because it's tough. What's tough for me is, do I stick with my actual ratings when I compare them all to what level I had them at, or do I go with compared to what we see already, what we've as a together decided? So that's difficult. I push you to 7.5. So we have two 7.5s. You said 8, did you, Pies?
For Havertz, yeah.
Yeah. And then we have Con's 10, which I find a bit outrageous. But let's give him that 8. I would kind of like, Con, if you got to leave early, I can't give you a 10 the same rating, because I can't feel like that can't be a fully serious statement. But let's get to Mason Mount. And Fantasy PGA, I like you, but what are you doing today? What was the need for the passive aggressiveness? You could talk about like, oh, what's the truth? Yeah, what's the truth? Again, I didn't think Pulisic was as bad as the other guys, and I'm nothing to do with Americans, so I don't understand that. But hey, just all right. No need for the passive aggressiveness. Let's get to Mason Mount, who, but by the way, sorry to Pice and Clutch for the second half. Yeah, that ball for Ziyech was brilliant. And to be honest, I didn't even think Ziyech's header was bad, considering the kind of head I expected from Ziyech. I'm like, fair enough, better than I thought it would be, but obviously still a comfortable save for the goal. But Kai certainly had good moments. That run as well. Unfortunately, we gave himself a little bit too tight of an angle at the very end for the shot, but that was a good run as well. But Mount obviously hit the post early that was before the play was ever stopped, wasn't it? So that was kind of the first real. No, actually, they had obviously chances, but our first chance of the game. And a good shot as well that just about hit the post. Then the goal was a good finish. The assist was good as well. The run, obviously, from Alonso. I would have given Mount the 8. I don't think we were overall good enough for anyone to go be like Con and say 10, but fair enough. But if I give, I would go 8. Obviously, we gave Havertz an 8 now, but my personal rating for Mason Mount would be 8. Clutch, let me go with you next. What do you make of Mason? How would you rate him?
I think he is our best player today. I think, like I said, he was doing the things that we expect out of Mount. This is not the same Mount we've seen for the last couple of weeks. He's pressing. He was passing very well. He was getting into good positions. He had that one shot that he said afterwards that he should have put better on target that went off the crossbar. I would agree with you that I would have gone with an 8 being our best player today. But if we're gonna rate Havertz as an 8, we're gonna have to go for 8.5 for Mount because I think Mount was better than Havertz today. He also got the assist and he got the goal, so that's where I see Mount today.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Well,
How about this 8? I would also go at least 8.5. Go on, sorry, Pice. What
I'll just say quickly, like, Fantasy PGA Tour as well, bro. Like, just because Clutch is American, it doesn't mean he has an American bias, bro. Like, it's funny. Like,
I don't know.
I rated him a 5.
He actually means Clutch. I think he meant other people in the chat, to be honest.
All right. Well, I mean, if you are talking about Clutch, like, Clutch is a really balanced person from what I know of him. So, yeah, I don't think there's any bias here, to be honest, bro.
No. Maybe I certainly have some bias towards Ruben, but again, not English. But what about Mount, Pice?
Mount, yeah, I mean, it's a weird one because I know he got 2 goals and assists, and he did play really well. I can't remember what minute it was, but I said into my chat, is Mount still on the pitch? Because I didn't see him for like a good 30 minutes. I think that must have been when we was defending so much and they was constantly at us. But I mean, to get 2 goals and assists, dropping the pivot, played really well. Yeah, sorry, his fantasy is distracting me with the comments, but yeah, I think Mount did overall really well. I mean, I probably should give him an 8.5 because he got 2 goals and assists. And I think, although overall, I mean, no one really should be deserving of an 8.5, I think with how bad the overall, other guys played, I thought these 2 stood out the most, hence why they're getting such high ratings for me. So I think of an overall performance, 8.5, just because even dropping into the pivot, like I said, I thought he'd give us a bit more control, defensive stability. And you can always rely on Mason, man. Like, I know people always say this, but you can always rely on him. He's got I think it's I saw a stat earlier, I think it's 7 or 9 goals assist in 11 starts this season. And some guys were saying he's having a bad start to the season. I don't know, man. I think he's playing pretty well, to be honest. And you can see why Tuchel wants to integrate him so quickly, because I know we're going to come on to Ziyech. And yeah, he got a goal today, which was a great finish. But Ziyech has been so inconsistent when he's been the starter. And Havertz is not always great out on the right. So, I mean, you can always see why Mount, really, for me, is the starting as a right forward if he's fit.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just to clarify to the chat, I don't want to be sitting here moderating the chat while I'm trying to do a live stream here. Not at all. And if it wasn't Fantasy PGA Tour, what I don't like is saying words like Yanks. I know it's a more common word in England, but I'm not from England. I don't like derogatory terms for anything. So That's what I was basically going about. You can talk between each other as much as you want. You can disagree between each other as much as you want, right? I just don't like derogatory terms, right? Especially when it's someone like Fantasy BJ who's been in the chat, who's super chatted in the past, and who's from the chat conversations that we've had, a nice guy. So, do you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. No need for all of us to lose our heads. Everything's good. But yeah, not 8.5 for man. Let's get to the subs. Maybe we should have done Thiago Silva earlier, arguably, because obviously he came on at halftime. But let's get to the subs. Thiago Silva first, obviously. We spoke about it already in a way. He helped us, get some control back. Of course, part of that wasn't just Thiago coming on, but also Saul coming off. But Thiago was brilliant. The man's 37, started the last 3 games, didn't start the second game for Brazil in the international break, but the first one came back literally the day before we played Leicester, was brilliant there, was brilliant against Juve, was brilliant against Man United, to be honest, was brilliant again today when he came on. I don't know. Maybe not quite a stand-up because obviously he didn't win us the game as such, but I would say at least like 7.5, which is, again, I would like to go higher in comparison to what we gave Christensen and Chalobah, but I don't want to go as high as Havertz and Mount. But so I kind of have to go 7.5. But Pys, would you go along with 7.5? Would you go higher, even as high as Kai and Mason, maybe?
I think he has to get quite a high rating just because of the control he brought to the game. I thought as well there was one tackle where he does a lot of these like one-footed low ground tackles lately, and I wish I recorded it because I was like, that's a great tackle. Like genuinely, I was on the attack and he literally just launched into this guy, but he knew what he was doing. It was like a one-footed, like almost like one leg in front and like one leg behind tackle. It was really nice. But yeah, I think obviously I've always said Silva's our best centre back. I think that's quite clear. Just overall, still world class, by the way. Still world class. I don't know how this guy does it at his age, but I mean, yeah, fair enough. If he can rest up for Saturday and play, then great. But in terms of an overall rating,
obviously we do with the star as we always do for the sub.
Yeah.
Actually, no. For Thiago, should we do a normal rating because he played the same amount of minutes Saul did?
That is true. 7.5, I think. Maybe an 8. 7.5, I think, because there wasn't that one huge defensive contribution. I just think overall he brought more solidity and a bit more structure, I think. A bit more organisation. I thought our defence was a bit all over the place today. And every time Silva plays, it's just not like that. He seems to command the defence just by his actions.
Yeah, no, he does. He does. Clutch, would you go along with you said 7.5, right, Pies? I think for some reason it stocked like it buffered for me for a second.
Yeah, I said either a 7.5 or an 8.
Fair dues. Clutch, what would you go with?
I have him originally down as a 7.5 along with Havertz because I think like the things that Silva brought to the game was control, level-headedness, something that like you just don't see anybody else on this team doing other than maybe Jorginho. And missing Jorginho and then him coming in and having the immediate impact of we're not stuck in possession or not stuck on the back foot pretty much, and then we start getting more possession when he's in. We're getting the passes. You're seeing him tell Rudiger, pass it to Christensen over here, do this or that. He was controlling everything so well. So by my standards of having him as the same as Havertz, I'd go with an 8.
Fair enough. You know what? I agree. Let's go with an 8. The second sub we made was Hakim Ziyech coming on for Chalobah. As crazy as that looked here, I will then once we, you know what? I'll quickly put Lukaku here. No, he didn't come on for Pulisic. Good for Aspi again, which looks crazy here. Let me just shift it how we then played in the second half. At least in my opinion, that's how I saw it. Right. So Ziyech then played somewhere here. Well, how am I going to do that? How can I have? He didn't come on for Christensen, did he? What am I doing? Why didn't no one tell me that? Come on, boys. Keep up. That's where Thiago is. My bad. So then Christensen moved here, right? Thiago moved here, of course. Then once Chalobah had to come off, Ruben was, in my opinion, a lone DM. Mason was playing a left CM, and Ziyech was playing a right CM. Sure, Ziyech a bit more attacking than Mason was. And then we kind of had a front two of, in the end, Lukaku and Havertz. with Pulisic playing right wing back. That's how I saw it. Of course, again, Mason dropped a bit there. And before, obviously, Chalobah had to come off. He was the lone DM with Ruben here, basically. But, I mean, Price, you said earlier you weren't sure what formation we were playing. Would you agree that that's kind of what we were playing, or would you know?
Well, let me look at this. Chalobah, Loftus-Cheek.
No, not Chalobah. Like, you have to look at the subs now.
I was like, what the fuck? I was getting so confused. I thought it was like upside down or something. Oh, bro, I was so confused. No, yeah, let me look at this. Alonso, Pulisic. See, I thought Lukaku was really more central.
Like, don't you think it was a front two with Kai and Lukaku?
No, I thought it was Lukaku on his own from what I was seeing. And then it was
at the very, very end. That's true. Yeah, Kai did come back more.
I think,
but I can't.
Yeah,
shall I put it up like that? As a bit like, you know.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. But I remember, like Mount was drifting more out to the left as well, and then off the ball he was coming back, kind of like what you've got it now. Yeah, I would say so. Ziyech maybe a tad more centrally, but it was kind of like that. Yeah, for sure.
Fair dues. Let's get to Hakim Ziyech. Obviously, he scored. He scored the winner. A wonderful finish as well, mind you. Again, let's quickly talk about the goal. Ball from Rudiger, I think. Out a high ball over on the left. Alonso with the head into the path of Mount, who made a great run and then a very good cross with his left foot. And Ziyech was just there and smashed it home into the roof of the net, because how many times, even from this season, have we seen our players sky those? But he didn't. You know, he got it in. Very good, very, very good finish. Another one of those clutch goals that he comes up with, even when the performance wasn't the best. I was genuinely worried when he got clattered in the back of the head that he would have to come off. I wasn't sure, do we still have these... Are we still in this trial period of the concussion subs or not? Would we have been allowed to make a concussion sub? I had no idea. So I was worried that we'd have to finish the game with 10 men when he went down there. But thankfully, he managed to finish the game. And there was a couple of passes which didn't go quite his way. And, you know, people will criticize those. But for me, I'm like, no one on the team, and that includes Mason and Kai, even tried any of those types of passes in the first half. And in my opinion, that's partly why we didn't threaten, because Watford weren't scared of us. The way we played, how we couldn't beat their press, the way we didn't even try anything dangerous other than when we scored and when Mason hit the post. The fact that Ziyech tried those passes forced Watford to stand off us a little bit more. And as much as, you know, he wasn't perfect by any means, I still think that drastically helped our game, actually. Plus, obviously, the goal. So with a star rating, of course, I would go again with the star because of, he won us the game. Without Hakim Ziyech, like, you can talk about, Mendy won us the game and Thiago Silva. He genuinely was the guy that won us the game, because we played great. We were good against Man United. We were good against Burnley, but we didn't take the chances. Ziyech did take the chance today to make sure we did actually win and not have another 1-1 draw. So with a star, I will go 8. Not the same 8 as we gave Thiago and Havertz, but with a star, I will go 8. You guys can obviously say whether you agree or disagree, but let's see. Clutch, what would you say?
I'm willing to go with an 8. I think he was pretty good. I think he started off a little shaky, but once he got the rhythm and he ended up getting that goal for us, I think after that, like, especially when he was taking the hard fouls to kind of run the clock out, like, he was doing that as well. Unfortunately, a couple of them were not great and probably could have really seriously hurt him, but he was taking the initiative when not many other people were at that time. So I would agree with an 8.
Fair. Pice, where would you go for Ziyech?
Yeah, maybe even an 8.5, to be fair. I mean, I don't know how high you want to go. I mean, he was pretty impressive. Ziyech just gives me, not gives me, but Ziyech is kind of like bipolar the way he plays football. Like, sometimes he's absolutely abysmal, and sometimes he's really good. Like, it's inconsistency. So, yeah, he's an inconsistent player, but I mean, tonight he made the difference. He came on, he tried risky passes. He had time to do things. He tracked back well, and he obviously scored the goal. So it was a great finish. We all know he's got ability. It's just he never does it consistently. So, I mean, I don't know what did you guys, because obviously I wasn't on the stream for Man United because I went to the game. What did you guys think of him? Because personally, I thought he was absolutely shit, and everyone was saying he was really good, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I just watched him in real life. I thought he was terrible. It was really weird.
Yeah, we thought he was decent. We gave him a 6.5. We gave both him and Callum both a 6.5, I think.
Yeah, like it's like in front of me, bro. The guy was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking kill Ziyech." Kept spacing passes, and he had like it's so funny. Like the guy in front of us was doing his fucking nutting at Ziyech, but yeah, I mean, he does my nutting sometimes, but I'm glad he's done it in a good way tonight because we love him after tonight. That was a big 3 points.
It was. I mean, for me against United, I think you can definitely say on the ball wasn't as good as he would have liked. But I think off the ball, he gave us something that we haven't seen from him enough. And what I felt from him against United and again today, it feels like his shoulder's good again because he feels like he's quicker. He feels like he's more agile. He feels like he's more willing to constantly go. And for the last 2 weeks, he just wasn't doing that as much, I thought. And
What is it though, bro?
With saying the shoulder is hindering him, so that I was making this.
What is it with our wingers and being better super subs? So like Pulisic, Ziyech, like even Hudson-Odoi at times. Better.
I think they just need time, and that's just in the system that we have. But you're not getting much time.
Yeah, we ain't got time, bro.
That's the point. That's the hard part. Is how do you get the best out of these guys if they don't have the time to be good?
Well,
like that was the first time we seen Pulisic at the left wing on the left side of since Palace.
Ziyech has had a lot of time at Chelsea still, though. Like I don't know. Sometimes I think he just doesn't fit the league or system, and then sometimes, like tonight, he gets to express himself. So I don't know, man. It's weird.
It really is weird. Let's finish it off with Lukaku before we actually finish it off with Thomas Tuchel. Again, it's been a long stream, guys. Lukaku is a weird one, man. Like, I'm not going to be too critical of him. He's just coming back from an injury. He's clearly not fully fit yet. Otherwise, he would be starting. But the most useful thing he brought today was him helping us defend the set pieces when Watford were putting pressure on us late on. Like, he was very useful for that. He also, I felt he brought a bit of leadership and calmed things down a little bit, which was good. But in terms of actually playing football, nothing special, in my opinion. Like, a couple of good hold-up moments, but even then, like, there was a couple of, like, sloppy layoff passes that he tried. There was one time he went past the guy but shot and, completely shot straight at the guy's legs. Sure, maybe he was trying to go through the legs like the goal we conceded, I guess. But I don't know. Give him obviously, it was a very short... How long was he on the pitch for? 10 minutes? But I guess we did only score the winner after he came on, wasn't it? So still involved in things, I guess, to some extent. You know what? I'll go last for this one. I'll let you go first, Clutch. What'd you make of Lukaku? How would you rate him?
I think his presence there allowed for the space for Ziyech to get open. I mean, him and both Havertz were both crashing that near post, where you seen them drag all the defenders with them, and that's why Ziyech was so far open. So I'd probably give him a 7 because, I mean, his movement alone is just like his presence alone is causing problems because they know they can't leave him by himself or they can't not double man mark him. I mean, that's just one of the things I think Lukaku brings to this team is they're going to double him. If there's going to be, doesn't matter who the front three is, he's getting doubled every time. And that's why it's like...
Potentially why Ziyech had the space for his goal.
Yes, and so I think that would be one of the reasons why I think he deserves at least a 7 with a star.
Fair, yeah. I'll kind of go along with something like that. I felt like, especially when it was late on and we finally got that lead, the fact that we had him on and we could actually punt the ball, and it wasn't like with Havertz at times, but because we kept punting it to Pulisic anyway, losing the ball every time we play it long, that was a big, very useful that we didn't constantly run back into an attack. So that was his biggest strength. Maybe I would have gone 6.5 or 7, but again, no big qualms with that. Pice, what do you make of Lukaku, Big Rom?
Yeah, I was going to say 7 as well, to be fair. I think, first of all, I want to say I won't probably judge him until he starts again and he gets a few starts under his belt. And I just think, it's annoying because he doesn't really have anything to work with at the moment when he comes on. Like, he didn't have a chance or anything created. Like, the one time I was fuming, right? Kai was down the right-hand side and he took a dodgy touch, and if he got past him, he could have played it across, and Lukaku pretty much had a 1v1. And I was like, no, that could have been the moment, man. Like, why did you have to screw that up? Because I want him to get goals and get confidence in, because like he's a lethal finisher, bro. Like I want him 1v1, like taking people on, just smashing shots across the goal and just being in the box and finishing. So I hope he starts against West Ham. Hopefully he gets a couple of chances because I back him to put them away, bro. Like, because obviously I'm a massive Hazard fan, even though he's, like quite washed now because of his ankle and stuff like that. Like, I watch Belgium all the time, bro, and Lukaku is just so fucking good for Belgium. Like, his finishes are outrageous. And I just hope we can find the way to play with him, bro, because he, even on the halfway line one time, right, he dropped deep and he did this flick. I can't remember who it towards, but it started a massive attack. And I was like, oh, people, I was going to tweet, maybe we are fluid with Lukaku then. Maybe those guys that saying we aren't fluid, like, where are you guys now? Because if that ended in goal, it would have been a beautiful attack and it would have started off by Romelu Lukaku. So, yeah, 100%.
One occasion doesn't quite, change the whole thing. But
no, I would have 100% tweeted that just because it's me, So that's what I do. I like to wind people up and cause a debate. But yeah, anyway, I think overall today, I would give him a 7. I thought he was pretty good, especially with his aerial presence. One time from the throw-in as well, literally no one was moving, and I think the ref was about to book Alonso, I think it was, and then Lukaku just came and won the header on, and I was like, thank you for doing that, because I was stressing out, like Alonso was he on a yellow? Because I was stressing out he's going to get a red card. I think he was on a yellow.
Actually.
Was he not? Maybe I was stressing for no reason then, but I seem to think he was on a yellow.
Actually, no, he wasn't he?
He was, I swear he was. And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, bro, you're going to get sent off. Like, no one was... the ref was, like, watching him. And I was like, can someone fucking move? And Lukaku, like, sprinted towards him and won a header. And I was like, thank you. Like, seriously. Because he was going to get a red card. Not that I would have minded that anyway, because, Alonso wouldn't be playing the next match. But still, we would have still had a red card. So, yeah.
No, exactly. Let's finish it off by Thomas Tuchel. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put him. I guess we usually put him with the man of the match, or do we usually put him with Thiago Silva? But that's not possible today. Let's put him with Mason. It's a tough one because his subs, especially Ziyech, obviously, and Lukaku in the end helped as well, won us the game, and Thiago Silva brought us back some control. But what I will say in terms of slight criticism, number one, just to read out what you put in this private chat here, Tuchel said, I don't think I prepared the team properly. We was not ready. This is the first time we underperformed as a team. Well, here it says unreformed, but I presume it means underperformed. What I will say is Saul and Ruben didn't work at all in the first half. Adding to that, having Alonso and Aspi, which he was forced into because obviously Reece wasn't even on the bench and Chilly's, of course, injured. And then in the second half, we changed it to a midfield 3. And then we weren't like great all of a sudden, but we kept Watford at bay a little bit. We weren't like getting bombarded like we were in the first half, where we couldn't get out ourselves. We didn't have any sort of relief ever. And once we had a midfield 3, whether it was initially with Chalobah, Tuchel, and Mason and Ruben, or whether it was then with Ruben, Ziyech and Mason, we had a little bit of control then with the midfield 3. Maybe we needed it against, obviously, the strong midfielders that the Watford had in terms of physically strong. But I do think he got that very wrong. That he shouldn't have started that midfield. Yeah, you can say, but he's tired and he's tired. Fair, sure. But he still got it wrong. And, maybe if we started with a midfield 3 like we had for the entire second half then, which then kind of worked at least. So I don't think we can be too letting him off, even though, of course, a lot of that was forced upon him with a lot of injuries. But wasn't amazing. And he was, but what I liked was how frustrated he was on the side, like how he kept shouting at everyone. There was one early on, like even before the game was interrupted. He was like, I didn't see who he was shouting at, or I couldn't read his lips to who he was shouting at, but you could see they were shouting like lost possession 3 times. And he was shouting at so many players, like, what are you doing? You need to keep going. And like being super angry and super disappointed. And like there was one shaking of the head in the first half as well, like, what are we doing? How are we this bad kind of thing? And one thing I will say, I was a little bit disappointed that even after the stoppage, we weren't better, because the stoppage was awful. Thankfully, again, the Watford fan seems to be okay. At least he was stabilised and brought to hospital. I thought, especially once we knew that the Watford fan was okay, I thought, okay, this for the game for us as Chelsea could be a positive, because Tuchel saw the first 12 minutes and saw how god bloody awful we were, and we were sat in the changing room. So I thought he was giving them a right bollocking, and we was going to be way better. but we came out and were equally as bad as we were in the first 12 minutes. That I was very disappointed by. Again, the second half was much better, but that I was disappointed by. To be honest, to be perfectly honest with you, I actually thought he might be making a sub after those 12 minutes because we were so bad that, like, honestly, Saul, Alonso, even Ruben at the time, 1,000,000%, all of them three deserved to be subbed off straight away. He didn't. Fair enough. I'm not saying I expected him or I would have wanted him to make a sub after 12 minutes, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he did. But yeah, for me, we won in the end. His subs helped that, so that part's very good, and the other part's kind of pretty bad. So I would overall give him a 6. I feel like Pice is going to go a lot higher. Let's see what Clutch says. But for me, I would probably go 6. But let's see. On that note, I'll go with you, Pice. What would you make of what I said, and how would you rate Tuchel?
I'd probably give him a 7. I don't think it was the best managerial performance, but I mean, I don't blame him for some of the things that some people were saying. Like in the chat, people were saying Tuchel gets a 5 for starting Saul. I'm like, who else was he going to start? Am I missing something here? Like, he was literally the only player that was going to be able to start. Like, I mean, you start Chalobah in DM, it could even go even wrong, like even more wrong. You don't know. Like, it's just obviously you're going to use the squad and use Saul. I mean, you literally signed him in the summer, so even though it was a loan, you still put the documents through. You still actually cared about the guy enough to sign him. So, I mean, I don't really get that. I don't really have a problem with the lineup, to be honest with you. Obviously, Alonso, yeah, great. Aspi, yeah, great. I mean, don't want them starting, but who else are you going to put out? Like, I often look at the lineup mainly. I think the performance was really bad, but I mean,
There's nothing wrong with starting Saul because he kind of had to, but he still could have from the start played Mount in this deeper role and played Callum or Ziyech in the further forward.
Yeah, but then people would say, "Oh, it limits Mount. What you doing?" Because I've seen that all the time.
Of course, but then if we play better, people wouldn't
Yeah, I don't know. I get your point. Like, things could have been done differently, I guess. What I was shocked that Alonso wasn't taken off at half time. Like, I was fucking fuming, bro. I was swearing and all sorts. I was like, what? Like, put anyone there. Like, go and grab someone out of the stands and put in there. Like, generally, I was like, I can't watch this guy. Like, how has he not been hooked after that first half? But I guess they have to take that into consideration. But I mean, who actually was on our bench apart from like the guys that come on? Because was Barkley on the bench or what? Like, I don't know.
I think
Yes, he was,
but he never came on.
Yeah, so I mean, Barkley was on the bench. I mean, I've always said I would like to see Mount at left wing back. I know people think I'm crazy, but I put that shout out there, and I still remain on that shout. For a lot of different reasons, but I mean, maybe you could have brought someone on different. Maybe you could have given Barkley a run out, but I know people will disagree probably. But anyone but Alonso at half time, bro, for me.
Fair enough. So you gone 7, I gone 6. Clutch, what would you go for Tuchel?
I'd probably go with the 7, to be fair. I mean, you can't really blame him for the way we lined up today. We really had to be fair. It's just now you judge him on where we go from here because, I mean, not every opponent is going to be the same type of game. But now we know, I think we're getting to this point where we're kind of understanding a little bit that these players either need to adjust to the system. I mean, Alonso just seems like it's like a 50-50 coin toss whether you get productivity out of him or you just get the games like today. So, I mean, it's the time for the solutions now. I don't think he was to blame today because especially he changed the shape. He ended up being like the main reason why we ended up winning this game because how he changed it and how we started making the control to happen to get that. So I don't blame him for today.
Clutch, can I say one more thing as well? Sorry to interrupt, but taking into consideration this rating, you know the one thing I always used to get really annoyed about Lampard was how like Tuchel's so much more proactive on the touchline than any Chelsea manager we've had. Like, he's constantly shouting and maybe Conte, but still, Conte gave up in the second season. Tuchel, so far from what we've seen, based off game by game, like, did you see that guy on the touchline, bro? Like, yeah, he blames himself, but holy shit, he gets into these players. Like, at one point, I think, like 8 or 10 minutes in, he was like pointing to his watch. I'm pretty sure he was saying, like, hello, we've started here, he was pointing over to the left-hand side, like, are you awake? Like, come on, the game started sort of thing. That was right at the start. Like, that just shows how much he cares about this team, and I love a proactive manager. Even if it's not subs, which is annoying, if you're on the touchline being proactive, like, I always used to get on Lampard for just crossing his hands and just sitting on the bench with Morris. Like, it just, I don't know, it's like a bug hate
That
for me.
famous scowl that he used to have where he just crossed his arm and sat down somewhere.
Yeah, and he just used to fold his arms and, like, I don't know, man. I don't want to slander Lampard. I'm just saying, like, it's, if we're thinking of recent managers, that's one thing on, like, player ratings and ratings overall I used to knock Lampard down for, was just not being proactive. So I think, Tuchel being proactive definitely needs to be taken into consideration game by game.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The in-game management was fantastic and brilliant and helped us change the game. My lookout boy was not... If you think we're always forced to always play the same formation, then yes, he was forced to kind of play this. But if he kind of anticipated that Saul and Ruben together with Alonso and Aspi don't work, it could have initially already had a midfield three like we then had in the second half. But that doesn't take away from how great his in-game management was. But hey, in the end, we got a very, very, very important win. As much as it was a super tough game, but we got a very difficult win. We kept, a top spot in the Premier League table, which is, of course, brilliant. Now, very, very short, recovery time or turnaround until the next game. Because obviously going from a 7:30 kickoff on Wednesday to a 12:30 midday kickoff on Saturday. At least it's in London. It's an away game again, but do we play at home? We play away, don't we?
It's away, bro.
Yeah, exactly. But at least it's in London still. So, it's not, quite, like travel and stuff at least. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Hopefully the likes of, Reece can come back to start. I don't know why. Like, I'm not sure if we've heard anything why it was so much so. Because yesterday was said to be a doubt. All of a sudden, he wasn't even on the bench. So I hope he can be back.
Laurenz, Tuchel did say that not a lot, but a few players were suffering from extreme overload. So I'm guessing it's just playing so many matches in a row as opposed to injuries.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, will they recover from said overload enough to start on Saturday? And I hope he can.
I think so. I think it's enough time, probably.
Yeah. No. Well, let's hope so. And obviously, Jorginho, you'd expect so, but when Chalobah had to come off after about an hour, and Jorginho was on the bench but didn't come on, I was like, so why is he on the bench? then what's the point? If you have a DM or you DM,
bro, it's like Man United, right? It's like the Man United game. I was like, why is Lukaku on the bench? He came on with like so little time to go. Like, surely he could have played 20 minutes.
Oh, we will never know. Would Lukaku have come on earlier had we needed to because of an injury? And that's what the situation was today. Even though we had an injury, Jorginho didn't come on. But hey, at the end of the day, it I guess doesn't matter because we won. So like Fantasy PJ says here, it does feel like a title-winning win tonight. I have to say, yeah, it does. But at the same time, it's also a bit of a win that feels like when Man United beat Atalanta. And then Paul Scholes said there, well, if you do play like that against Liverpool, you're going to get annihilated. 3 days later, they lost 5-0. That's also how it felt because it was Watford. Like, I know the boys gave the defenders a high rating. If we played as a whole, defenders, midfielders, and forwards in the first half against a better team than Watford, we would have been annihilated, and it would have gone more like our West Brom games have gone. I know West Brom aren't better than Watford, but West Brom had a better day than Watford. So it's a tough one, but I hope we can use this as. I feel like the United game killed us a little bit in terms of the spirit, and I was very happy to show the fighting spirit because the players were very well aware how much we were struggling on the day, but we still somehow found a way to win. And that's what sometimes you need to do. I don't want this to be the case every week. So if we have to grind out a win against West Ham and grind out whatever the next Premier League game after that is, if we keep having to grind it out, that's a bad sign. But if it's a one-off game or every now and again you have to grind one out and you do it, that puts you in a good position to win the league title, especially when you're missing as many players as we did today, or missing plus having to rest a few. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it out here. This has been probably one of the potentially the longest streams we've done on this channel. There's a lot to talk about, obviously, with the Christensen stuff at the start and obviously the Watford fan. So this was a very long stream with just a lot to discuss. But ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in today. We still have over 200 people watching, which is very brilliant. So again, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, do subscribe. Hit that big red subscribe button for me. Smash the like button as well. If you haven't already, it doesn't cost you any money. Barely cost you any time. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. Big shout out to Con again. Shout out to Pys and Clutch. Check them out on Twitter. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. And I'll see you next time.